What is going on, everybody? It is episode 193 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my very distracted co-host. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I feel like a cartoon character right now with how chaotic everything is. I'm going to slip on a banana peel and I'm going to get hit by an anvil falling down. Even though we're at the top of the house.
And the weather is all over the place because
weather's going crazy like it always does.
We can't seem to win when it comes to
weather.
I
thought you were going to say we can't seem to control it.
No,
I was like,
we
Brett,
can't.
I know. It's the worst.
Regardless of what governmental policies may say, you can't control the weather. By the way, that voice you just heard was our guest host for the day. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com. That's all I ever say in my intros now, and I feel like it's going to become how I start introducing my people. I'm going to meet people who are like just socially and start being like, hi, I'm Hannah Claire. I'm a writer for Tim. Like, it's going to be really bad. I'm going to be like giving my name for an order. Be like, Hannah Claire, writer for timcast.com.
Give them your business card.
I actually don't have one. I should get one. Maybe.
I don't have any business cards. I should do that.
I feel like
I want to do it for the memes.
I feel like no one is shocked that we're not a business card company.
we can work on it. We can get there. We're not the Daily Wire. Where I imagine everyone.
We're not
Daily
buttoned
Wire
up intellectuals. I'm sorry.
Yes, I am not Jordan Peterson. I am not. We got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We're going to talk about a Baltimore moment, as you might call it, in a production of a show called Lady in the Lake, which is being filmed out there, starring Natalie Portman, and what seems to be third world tactics to try to extort money from a corporation, something you see straight out of Mexico or a movie about drug cartels, where they tried to extort the show for profit through threats of violence, which is very, very fascinating given other stuff that has happened in the entertainment industry regarding on-set safety. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a rumor. I'm going to preface it right now. Rumor about Captain America supposedly being brought back in the MCU with Chris Evans for the simple sake of just making him a hell of a lot less patriotic. We will see where that goes. Then after that, me and Mary discussed last week about a longer segment talking about Shia LaBeouf and his conversion to Catholicism, which I think is a fascinating topic of discussion.
You guys have been requesting it too.
Exactly. People like I've enjoyed, even though I'm not religious, I enjoy the religious segments because it makes me more hopeful for the future, I guess, in a way. We're going to talk about that. We got Podluck. We got a bunch of other stuff. So if you guys are ready, we will just get right into it. Mary, you've got your blanket on. Are we ready?
I got my blankie on. I'm only wearing it right now because I saw Dane in a clip from when I was not here wearing his blanket, and I was like, oh, that's allowed now? Mm-hmm. Okay, fine.
I mean, it's frowned upon, but it is allowed.
I'll do it.
Yeah. All right. Hannah Claire, are we ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right, so let's just get right into it. It says, Apple TV Plus halts production of Natalie Portman series after alleged extortion threat from armed drug dealers in Baltimore.
I mean, what did you expect filming in Baltimore, though?
I think this is so funny. Is that bad?
It's kind of like...
I mean, a little bit.
The funny thing is, okay, this show, let me pull it up here. This show it's based on a book written by, her name is, I was literally just looking at it right before we started here, and of course I can't remember it off the top of my head. Let me get into it here. So basically, it's written by the lady it's David Simon's wife. David Simon wrote The Wire, which is a very famous Baltimore show, but it's based on a book by his wife, who's also a reporter for the Baltimore Sun, right? So it's all roads lead back to Baltimore, but it feels like they don't have the ability to realize that it's not the safest place in the world to be filming. And it reminds me of every, show that's ever taken, like a scene in Mexico where like the cartel comes into town and basically tells you that you got to pay your fair share if you want to be protected.
Yeah, it just makes me think that Hollywood thinks they can come into anywhere and be exempt from like goings-ons and norms, which I guess maybe is
and
true.
Taxes.
Yeah, like they think they make their own rules. I'm surprised we don't hear about this happening more often, to be honest. I mean, I think probably places that film in slightly dangerous areas do have certain amounts of theft or
you would have
vandalism.
heard a lot more about it if the cast had been present for this, but it was actually just the crew members.
I feel like, what I'm saying is like places or things that film, what I'm saying is I think this happens not to this level, but vandalism or theft happens on other sets that goes underreported because the Hollywood unit doesn't want to look like they are somehow looking down on inner city places.
They talk about that in here, kind of. They're like, we can't wait to get back to filming in Baltimore while they're literally
They called it, we can't wait to film in the vibrant community of Baltimore.
It reminds me of just recently, an actual worker for one of the Law & Order shows was shot and killed outside of, remember that? Like they were working security for Law & Order, and that person was shot and killed at like 5 a.m. And I think the common thing here is like, remember, this one, that one, the actors aren't present when it happens, which makes it a lot easier for people to dismiss.
I think it's also worth noting that, like, as you said, when was The Wire filmed? I mean, in the early 2000s, right? So
it was just as dangerous, if not more dangerous, back then.
I think. Well, what
it was also before there was the same conversation going on about.
Well, I also think that violent crime is on the rise in most cities in America and has been for the last about 3 years.
Yep.
So it's worth noting that, like, we are not learning anything because we cannot read the actual news and be honest about, like, the state of crime in this country because we're afraid of talking about things that would come along with that.
It's been politically charged now, so you can't have honest discussions about it. So it says a driver on the crew was on the set for the filming of Lady in the Lake at around 4 p.m. when he said that the armed drug dealer accosted him and said the filming has to stop. The two then allegedly said that unless the production company gave them $50,000, they would come back that evening and shoot people. Can you say that on here? I think we can say that.
I guess. I mean, they were going to shoot people while shooting a
show. Yes.
A show. So
maybe they were just auditioning.
They're like, we wanted to come and make you guys stars.
What was surprising to me about this is they said out of an abundance of caution, we're halting filming for Friday for like the rest of the day. But like, it's not really an abundance of caution if they just straight up threaten to kill you if you come back.
Yep. So
we don't know if they were serious, though. Maybe they were joking.
Right.
Well, they said they were going to change locations to like they're going to like shoot the scene somewhere else to like a different part of Baltimore where maybe that guy just doesn't go.
I want it to be so they like just completely leave Baltimore.
I mean, wouldn't they be in a nice part anyway?
Not necessarily. The Wire used to film in very, very, like I said, I don't know about this, but The Wire used to film in some pretty gnarly locations.
Well, and like I assume the background of wherever you're filming, the reason to film in location is to like depict how the streets actually look.
So it says Endeavor Content, the studio behind the series, said in a statement Sunday that they were working with police to identify the suspects that allegedly threatened the crew. The safety and security of our crew, cast, and all who work across our productions is our highest priority, and we are thankful no one was injured. Production will resume with increased security measures going forward. And then the Baltimore mayor, Brandon Scott, decried the incident. That's also really interesting, too, because like you'd think it would be in their best interest to have as safe of a city as possible for production if you want to encourage people to come film there. But that doesn't
You would also think that they'd have the safest city possible for business owners.
Or like people who live there.
Who
Not
live
just like
there.
Hollywood to film.
If you're thinking of them as business owners, then if you're thinking of them as just contract business owners, you would want to present the safest city possible. But it reminded me of this story about there's a show being shot right now called Justified City Primeval, which is based on the Timothy Oliphant FX series from, I'm sorry, was it AMC or FX?
Oh, I remember this.
So this one says an incendiary device was thrown near the set in Chicago. There's a pattern here. Mm-hmm. There's cities that are not in the best shape as far as their.
What was even the motive behind that incident?
We don't want the show without Boyd Crowder, and then they throw an incendiary device because they didn't hire Walton Goggins back for City of Primeval. I'm
sad about that too, just because Goggins is a great name.
Walton Goggins is a fantastic actor. You guys know what I'm talking about. People watching right now know what I'm talking about. The incident happened 3 weeks after production on the FX drama was halted after two cars whose occupants were engaged in a gunfight smashed through the show's barricades. No one was injured during the intrusion, though shell casings were found on the set later. Hey, maybe this is what happened to like Alec Baldwin. Maybe there was like a shootout with actual people and like somebody just dropped a gun.
Them.
And he was just
defending himself.
And that's what happened. Like and then I actually dumped a story today about how they had like a new bill, got one of the bills that got brought into legislation for the set of Rust got dumped. Because they're just like, the union has all the power in Hollywood. So they're like, sorry, we want to make the set safer, just not that
Yeah, and
way.
there would definitely, I think, be more impetus to change legislation if the stars were affected. Like, if Natalie Portman were on set when something like this happened,
this article would have been 10 times longer.
Yes. I think this would be a lot bigger of a story. It actually took some effort to find it yesterday.
Yeah.
I've been seeing this all day, and they were talking about it on the radio yesterday. I think it is being somewhat widely reported. I think part because people think Hollywood productions are protected. People think that, like, when a film studio decides to come to your town and film, everyone is just so grateful to have the industry and so grateful to have the business that, you know, there's no way any criminals would ever interact with it. And that's why I said before, I think probably stuff does happen that they don't talk about. I also think
what was it that we were talking about recently where they shut down so many streets in, was it Iceland? And like all of these businesses weren't able to open.
For Batgirl. They closed.
Was it in Iceland, or am I making that up?
I think it was Ireland or something. It wasn't Iceland. But it was for Batgirl, and all those businesses are now not going to get to see the movie on screen.
No, it was in Scotland. Yeah. And they all of these businesses were strained so much by this all the streets being closed down, and then they didn't even get the free advertising of being in Batgirl. Having their logos showing in the movie.
Imagine you're like on that set, and then they like change the logo of your business in post to like.
Well, they did force some of the businesses to cover up their logos, but some of them didn't have to. I don't know how they determined that, but it was just like you didn't even get the satisfaction of like getting a little bit of a cameo, and like once the film was dumped. And they weren't compensated properly for it. No, and I think it just shows the entitlement that people in that industry have just waltzing into some suburban area.
I think this story is funny because it's like, yeah, good. You got to experience what everyone else is probably experiencing in that city. Like, we are not allowed to talk realistically about crime in this country unless it... Could you imagine interrupting our television production? How could they do that?
I also want to point out that if you go between if you look at this article, I read like about 5 versions of this article from Variety, from the Hollywood Reporter, and then you read the ones from the local stations, and there's a specific language inflection where when it's the local stations, they said the film production was shut down by an extortion threat made by local gang members. And then if you go and look at the ones from the Hollywood Reporter and Variety, it says the production was shut down when a group of locals came to the set, and I'm like they were trying their best to not
it's just like the local. It's like the local PTA. Yeah, like they're just coming in being like
$50,000, please.
If you could please pay us.
Like, who do you think?
They make it sound like it's like a parking ticket.
But that's the thing. I think because Hollywood, in some ways, is so removed from the realities that so many Americans are facing that they feel like they can't even say like criminals. It's like what is it? Houseless person or whatever.
The unhomed.
The unhomed. Like, they're coming up with these things because they would rather not sound like they may or may not be insulting or judging the city, because it's more important to protect their image of themselves than to be realistic about the places that we are operating. Or especially, like, people live in the city, and, like, we suddenly are hearing about this when a production is shut down. Like, how many businesses have to get shut up before we're like, yes, Hollywood, gang violence is real in major cities across America.
Even the one about Justified, that's like, an incendiary device was thrown on a Chicago film set. I'm like, well, what about like the incendiary device that is Chicago every weekend for like 3 days in a row?
How could you say that? Yep. It's a vibrant city.
And then, and to your point about they're disconnected from reality, and we have this part from now. It's Breitbart, so it's a little hyperbolic.
Sure.
Natalie Portman, who supported defunding the police, now benefiting from Baltimore PD protection after criminals threaten her Apple TV series set. And they point out that she said this in 2020. She says, 2 years ago, at the height of the Black Lives Matter riots, Natalie Portman penned a lengthy message on her official Instagram account in which she explained how she overcame her initial doubts about the defund the police movement, saying that she hadn't realized her white privilege. She says, and I quote, "When I first heard hashtag defund the police, I have to admit, my first reaction was fear. My whole life, police have made me feel safe. But that's exactly the center of my white privilege," she wrote. Portman concluded that the system that makes me feel comfortable is wrong.
So basically, pay them the $50,000 because shut up.
Yeah, really, I don't understand what she's doing. Like, it's privilege to be able to say that you won't.
They're also kind of exhausting the resource that the police are to Baltimore when they're not filming in Baltimore by getting their protection.
To be fair, the police in Baltimore aren't super effective anyway. So I guess if they're being effective in one, they're like,
guess so.
Chalk it up to their scorecard. We're doing good protecting the rich people. We're just not doing so good protecting our actual community.
I mean, in some ways I feel bad for Baltimore because it is such an interesting city, and it really has gone through an insane evolution as American history and American culture has progressed. That being said, I think that trying to constantly say, oh, Baltimore is a vibrant city and it's good to film there, never actually addresses. I would love for Baltimore to have a thriving film industry. I would love for there to be thriving film industries outside of Hollywood, but this is not it. This is, I think, not white privilege, but celebrity privilege.
Even Hollywood is
Hollywood
not necessarily
privilege to be able to be like, we don't need to think realistically about the crime. Like, that's like saying I'm a famous person, so I should be able to walk in a dangerous neighborhood because I won't get hurt.
It's not like LA is a beacon of like a great looking city right now. I do want to point out so that this show, it's based on a book called Lady in the Lake by Laura Lippman. Again, that is David Simon's wife. And it says, I'm just going to give people a brief description of it. So perhaps they may want to watch this when it comes out. It says, set in 1960s Baltimore, an investigative journalist working on an unsolved murder clashes with a woman working to advance the agenda of the city's black community. The protagonist ditches her doting husband and big Pikesville home to pursue a career as a newspaper reporter while Yas Queen slay.
Natalie Portman is just addicted to the Yas Queen slay roles.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't she?
Because she's a queen and she slays.
Which is funny because I watched V for Vendetta this weekend, and she's fantastic in that movie, and she Yas Queen slays in that plenty. It's just she Yas Queen slays in a more awesome and less predictable way. She becomes obsessed with unraveling the mystery of two separate killings, that of 11-year-old Tessie Fine and a bartender named Cleo Sherwood. So I don't know if it was originally going to have Lupita Nyong'o in it, but they've replaced her with Moses Ingram. So if you like the other actress
Nyong'o is like talented.
Yes.
Though.
Well, I'm seeing in the other headlines her name, Lupita's name, is still being listed as a star in the show. Maybe she's just not.
Maybe she just refused to film in Baltimore. It's like it's dangerous there.
Maybe she changed roles. I don't know. And they still wanted her in a different role.
No, it says in May 2022, Nyong'o exited the series, and Moses Ingram would be cast to replace her in June. So they might not have the most. It's got Mike Epps in it. Mike Epps is great. Natalie Portman's great when she wants to be, just not recently. I do want to point out that if the character is to be played by Moses Ingram is extremely stoic, she will be fantastic in this role.
She did well in Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
I don't think she's totally lacking in personality. She just wasn't casted correctly for Reva.
As long as she doesn't have to have a lightsaber.
Yeah, like that it wasn't the right role for her.
No, it was not.
So maybe this will be different.
This seems more up her alley.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't know if this is going to, like I said, every time these stories have come up before, we had the one about Law and Order. That one happened. I was like, eh. Then I had the first one about, because that one felt more like news rather than entertainment.
Well, it's adding up in the same way that it was adding up when we saw like people throwing things at like concert goers throwing objects at performers.
Did you see
like Lady Gaga and Harry Styles.
Chicken nuggets thrown at Harry Styles.
I think it happened to Kendrick Lamar. I think it happened to Kid Cudi.
Kid Cudi like stopped the show. He's like, I'm stopping the show if you do that again, and then they just did it anyways. So.
Yeah.
But
that was ramping up too. It's just like everything's getting a little more chaotic.
I think we are becoming an increasingly confrontational and violent society. I mean, that's just the way it is. I would be curious. So I don't mean to get too boring on this, but like to look at violent crime or confrontational crime numbers in the last year and see how they've developed. I think, when COVID set in and then we had all those riots that one summer.
I remember that summer.
If you guys want to talk about that, but I know we don't want to get political. People were saying, everyone's been cooped up inside and they're frustrated. And then this really just sparked all sorts of racial tension. And I think in some ways we are...
I mean, it's not like this is racial.
It's not that it's racial, but it's like we are encouraging, or in some instances, we are okay with violent and aggressive behavior, and we are no longer able to contain it to certain aspects of society. Like being like, well, if you're doing it in protest, it's okay. Like, why is it okay when you're doing it in protest versus doing it just to be disruptive on a film set? Like, also, if you feel like this city is yours, if you're, I don't know, a gang member or just a criminal who feels like this is my city and even Hollywood can't roll in here and do whatever they want, like, why wouldn't you do this? especially if there are no consequences.
And like you said, like Hollywood's the bubble in the West Coast of being unable to like call this stuff out because they're afraid of what that will say, what they think that says about them, and like means that it's a self-perpetuating problem.
Yeah, and in a lot of West Coast cities, like they have lots of rules that allow people who are arrested for crime, like shoplifting or like misdemeanors, to be released the same day. So
thanks,
in some
Soros.
ways, I wonder if they're just like, oh, well, the West Coast is different, so we'll go film there. But it's actually...
Well, they said no arrests have been made in this Baltimore case.
And there will not be.
And I don't think there will be, even though it would be, I think, relatively easy to find these people.
How about this? It'll be a hilarious segment. We'll do a mea culpa where if they actually get arrested, we'll cover it. But I don't think that's happening.
If they get arrested, we'll take bets on how long until they get released.
Yes.
Because, again, we have a cultural attitude towards crime, which is led by Hollywood and by a lot of cities on the West Coast that influences especially Democratic strongholds like Baltimore on the East Coast. But I won't get any more political about it.
Does this show interest you guys? Does this type of show interest you guys?
It sounds super preachy.
Yes.
It sounds like She-Hulk Attorney at Law.
Yes, Queen Slay.
Sounds like Jane Foster Part 2.
This is based off like a true crime book, right?
Yeah, it's based off, like I said, this is based off of Laura Lippman, who is David Simon's wife, who actually was a reporter at the Baltimore Sun, like he was.
That sounds interesting, except for the fact that it's going to be
that she's a character.
Like I would be interested in reading her book, but I don't trust Natalie Portman's interpretation of this situation.
And that's interesting because like we had Tokyo Vice, which was the Ansel Elgort show that was based on a reporter's experience as a crime reporter in Tokyo, right? In Tokyo. Like that's interesting where the character is like the main character of the story. This feels a little too preachy for my interest.
Yeah. And The Wire, I mean, the Ansel Elgort one is interesting because the Tokyo Vice is interesting because it's like this Western reporter who has to both learn about the culture of Japan and the underground crime scene. So he's like really he's observing this world that you wouldn't be exposed to, which is interesting. And I think in some ways that was what was interesting about The Wire. Even though it is an American city, it is unlike a lot of places in the U.S. It gives you an insight into a culture that is unique to that area. With this story, I don't know that I need to watch it because there's like an overabundance of female-oriented true crime podcasts and books. I don't know that Natalie Portman has enough of a... Is she directing or is she just in it?
She's the star.
She's
probably producing.
I don't know that anyone on that team has enough of a unique perspective to make this stand out from any other true crime thing that's out there, you know?
It reminded me of some stuff that came up about The Wire. And by the way, this is my monthly reminder to you that if you have not watched The Wire or you have not watched The Wire recently, do yourself and everyone around you a favor. Go and rewatch.
Brett dutifully shills for The Wire.
Watch The Wire. According to Andre Royo, the mayor hated us because he thought we made Baltimore look bad. He told the cops to come down on us for anything. Jaywalking, resisting arrest, loitering. People got arrested. Production was postponed sometimes because people were locked up. People went missing for a couple days at a time, but it was a crazy time. This is like the opposite, right? So they were actually confrontational with the cops to get it produced at this time because the mayor felt that it made the city look bad. Now the cops are just inept because the city doesn't want them to be. How would you categorize it? Like the police department.
The city and their mayor are aware of the problems just as much as the people on set are now. Yep. It's also just like insane to me how they came up to this man brandishing weapons, like literally pointing them at him, threatening his life, and they're acting so casual about it afterwards.
Yep. It's just weird because I go through and I was watching like when you see The Wire, it's like just post 9/11. So it's like our focus was elsewhere at that time. So the show was almost allowed to exist because of the time period.
Okay.
So now there isn't a war in Iraq that allows modern versions of shows like this to be created. So if the city's going to be the main theme of a project like this, it has to be a period piece where they have to be preachy about American issues that went on in the 60s, right? I bet you that this show, without the hook of the book, never gets greenlit unless they make it about racialized elements.
Well, it's unfortunate because the original story could have been really interesting. Yeah. I haven't read the book, obviously, but then they're just going to bastardize it because, like, Natalie Portman wants to feel like a girl boss.
Well, she is so.
She's turned into one of the worst ones.
Yeah. Yep.
I would be
and like Emma Watson levels of preachy.
I would be interested in seeing one of these like girl boss actresses who's really cool and wears like suit jackets, playing a like non-feminist character and seeing how the reaction to that experience is.
What would that even mean, though?
In today's day and age,
like being able to take on
non-feminist or anti-feminist, or like just in her behavior or in how she identifies personally. Like, how do you even incorporate that into a story?
Yeah. So what I mean by that is like anti-feminist is someone who actively speaks openly about being opposed to feminism, whether that's like second, first, third wave. Like, we know it's someone who doesn't believe in anti-feminism, but I would be more interested in seeing them play a role where the person is sort of apolitical but continues to operate in a lot of female roles. So like a character that, and I don't have a specific story in mind, it's not like I can name someone, but someone who does stay at home with her kids, and her story isn't about her being an oppressed housewife, but that is an aspect of what she's doing. I'm tired of seeing actresses like this who have their own perspective of the world confirmed by the stories that they elect to be a part of. I think in some ways they're not challenged enough to think critically about how someone who is different than they are, who enjoys being at home or enjoys some aspects of feminine culture. Again, not that they are openly anti-feminist and raging against the machine, but just like someone who
I
has
think
a more
you should play characters that make you, that are like foils to who you really are sometimes. Like, you should do things that make you uncomfortable.
But so that's what I'm saying. But I'm saying that like,
and that would be an
anti-feminist, but I think it could also be someone who is just more accepting and balanced in their relationship with femininity versus like,
and no one's writing that. That's
no
the
one's
problem.
writing it. That's
like,
the problem.
Even if they
also,
wanted a role like that, or they would be open to it, no one is offering.
I don't think they'd be open to it, and in part, I think it's like it's a system that feeds itself. They don't think Natalie Portman would take it, so no one is greenlighting a writer who may have written.
No, the studio will not approve that role. The
and
studio's not going to allow that movie to
so
get made.
she never gets the option to read it, but also they don't think she would play it. Like, if they presented this character to her, it would be insulting to her as this major equity-minded feminist, right? Like, it doesn't make sense, and ultimately we are never introducing new kinds of people into the narrative.
When was the last time you saw a movie about I'm literally at any point where it was a main theme for the main female character had to do with her being a great mom?
Well, they sometimes have to do with that, but also she secretly hates motherhood, or she.
But that's what I'm saying. I'm saying
sad.
without that like internalized message, where it's literally
Doctor
about
Strange. Wanda,
that might be, other than the homicidal maniac part, remember that I said that was the part that tethered
an aspect of her character.
That tethered it to me, to like the part that made that believable.
What I'm thinking of is Emily Blunt in A Quiet Place.
Yes,
like she's very devoted.
Or the character of Bryce Dallas Howard in Jurassic World Dominion,
but she's not even a traditional.
She's an adoptive mom.
Yeah,
but
it's real. But like,
but it's like I'm talking about, like, this is what I mean when I say that they can't write female characters to be females, because the hook of that movie isn't her being a great mom. The hook of that movie is dinosaurs.
Well, never mind about Dominion, because then they gave this whole example of motherhood that I found really messed up and disturbing.
The abhorrent part about the biological mom and
because she didn't want to just like have a normal biological child with a man, like with a father.
Sometimes you hear with Friends, like, people are like, oh, it's so great the way Friends, the 90s sitcom, depicted motherhood in all these unusual ways. Like, Phoebe's a surrogate mom, and then Rachel has a baby out of wedlock on her own, and then
which is not even reflective
what's the dark-haired girl,
like,
she like adopts a baby, and they're like, it's to show that there are lots of ways to become mother, which like there are different paths to motherhood, but like no one, that's also specifically trying to say like you don't need to follow a traditional path, even though we all know that creates more stability, and
Friends
children do better in
Thank you.
in two-parent homes. Like, why can't we also just say like it's cool, and we should encourage people to choose partners carefully and be devoted to building a stable family unit for themselves and for their children.
I don't know if that's necessarily, I mean, I would put my money down that that's half ideological and half hack writers who don't know how to write that story interestingly. Like they're like, I can write an interesting mom if she's a witch who also wants to destroy a third dimension.
There has to be something sinister, like some twist to it, right?
They can't.
Which is why
also she can't just be at home. Like she has to be a witch who's also doing something.
And that's
else.
the same reason we're going to talk about Captain America, because it has to be Americana with a dark twist, or like with some reason that something's wrong with it.
Yep. All right. Let's do super chats.
Okay. Bootless Regent said, there once was a girl with skin as white as snow who would occasionally read chat on her show. She was loved for her beauty and all of her heart, but she did not return her shopping cart.
How long have you had that composed? I must know.
That was beautiful.
He was saving that one in his notes app.
That was kind of beautiful.
Actually, thank you. That was nice.
That was very. That was. I'm almost moved to tears.
It's like light shame, but they
I was actually like quite touched. Yash said, for Hannah Claire's Americana Quilt Fund, Dave.
That's so true. I can't believe Dave
Hands off.
Hands off.
Hands off.
Hands off the quilt.
Oh, he was
because
wearing
Dave
the quilt.
wore the quilt on the
what
episode.
What a violation!
It was
Mike and Shirley Noel made the best quilt of all time. I have no idea if they're still.
Where'd they go?
Well,
I thought they were going to be our quilt dealers.
Yeah, but when we closed our PO box, so
no,
they could have sent us 100 for all I know.
No,
I would never have received them, which is upsetting. Yeah, guys, I think quilting is an unappreciated art form, and we should really like cultivate teaching it. I think you should enroll your children in quilting clubs.
What's the other quilting or what's the other with the
knitting?
Crochet?
No, crochet. What's crocheting's kind of hipster.
I think crocheting and knitting are more
crocheting things over a park bench or like over a tree.
Hipster.
I just don't like it.
They're also more widely taught. Like embroidering is still pretty commonly known. Like you have to practice it, but like people know how to embroider. Quilting is complicated and takes some planning, and so I think that we should encourage people to do it. Also, like nice quilts go for like $500-$600.
Nothing that's ever been crocheted for me got more than like one wear out of like. It just doesn't stay. It doesn't.
I haven't had many things crocheted for me. Maybe not anything.
I actually had a blanket, like a quilt made for me. I think I still have it.
Quilts are way better than a crocheted blanket.
I had a girlfriend make me a quilt. I think I still have it somewhere.
That's sweet.
Okay. The girlfriend, not so much.
Andy would have loved it.
She put a lot of work into that, and you were just absolutely stomping on it.
I loved it. I loved it. It was great. Andy would have loved it because it was black and yellow, which are the colors of the Libertarian Party. So
is that why she chose those colors?
No. She wouldn't have been aware of my political leanings at the time.
False God Dark Soul said Hannah Care is self-Claire. # sweet baby gang for life.
I'm not following all of these words, but I appreciate
Neither am I. I don't think any of us are. F Off said, most businesses hate productions. We lose business. The money they offer us usually does not cover operating costs. We also show up for work just in case customers come. It's all a waste of time. Cartel loses cash as well.
Yeah, the bad.
What is F Off's business? I must know.
He's the one who works in.
He's the one who hires a chef once a week so he can like meal prep, right?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
What a guy.
I just want to know. What do you do?
Tell us about your grind set.
Do you follow Chat daily?
I think like that when I remember the amount they offered the Batgirl, like the businesses for Batgirl were like tiny. It was a very small.
Yeah,
amount.
it was. They said it was not even enough to keep their lights on, let alone equal to their operating costs or making a profit.
Yep.
I don't even know how that's legal, like for their city.
Because the city gets the tax. I guess gets the.
It's like oppressive.
Yep.
Nathan Koss said, best movie about a reporter is still Mr. Jones. It's about a reporter who covered the Holodomor in Ukraine when the New York Times covered it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I hope I pronounced
I've seen that. It is good.
I'm trying to think of other reporter-based movies. I can't think of any off the. I'd have to do.
It's like a whole genre.
Yeah.
I mean, think of like there's one about like it's the Boston Globe who broke the Catholic Church scandal.
Yes, that one did very.
There's like the Zodiac killer one that Jake Gyllenhaal is
okay,
in.
I love that. I love that movie, but I don't
movies.
think of that like that. That's funny too because I don't think of that as like a reporter, but it totally is.
Anything where the majority of it has to do with advancing a story.
Yes.
The next super chatter, his his username is like Necromaniac.
Necrosomniac.
What?
What is it?
An
What does that
insomniac
mean?
who's also a necromancer. I have no idea.
Does that mean something?
I'm gonna Google it.
Okay, he said, I just figured out you can change your name on YouTube instead of using your old gamer tag that you made when you were 12.
Perfect.
Great idea.
That is a good idea.
Bad App said, off topic, but Public Square is BS. They didn't make my business account, and now my account doesn't exist. I'm just a humble t-shirt salesman like Luke.
A Oh!
Thank you.
A necrosomniac is a World of Warcraft character, but
Okay.
I can't give you any more details.
There you go.
Huh.
We should let Tim know.
I wonder why you were
Tim-
censored on Public Square.
Tim is very high on Public Square.
Do we?
Well,
Like Tim is
Public Square is supposed to.
Thank you.
I don't think they would like intentionally suppress you because they're supposed to accept anyone who like adheres to their principles. They have like a list of 7 principles, and like they have some interesting choices on there, like some lingerie companies.
Sign me up.
Like
You need some lingerie.
it's a
Yes.
very eclectic mix, so you should be able to be on there. I don't know why you're having trouble.
Does anyone still play World of Warcraft? I
I
think my
never
brother
have.
played it when he was a teenager, which he's definitely not anymore. No offense, Alexander. Happy birthday, by the way.
Aw.
Just
I
curious. If anyone
Have
in
you,
the chat
Brett?
wants to let me know.
I don't play World of Warcraft.
But like, is it still a thing?
I don't know. Is it still a thing? We should ask Sarah.
Maybe ask Dane.
Maybe Dane or Sarah would know.
SOS, somebody let me know.
Action Man said, Oz is better than The Wire. Generation Kill is another really good one too if you haven't seen it yet.
I am actually in the process of starting Generation Kill finally. That's one of those ones where a lot of the actors that I'm a big fan of, when I go through their IMDb's, like John Hurtis is in that one. Like it's a show that's got very, very high praise that I've meant to start. Oz, I still prefer The Wire, though I haven't seen. I've watched The Wire, admittedly, dozens of times, but a lot of times in Oz I only saw through once, and I was much, much younger. So, and Clint Torres is next. Thank you very much, Clint.
Hello, my beautiful and lovely pretties. I've missed y'all so much. Mary, thank you for recognizing my affinity for making it rain. Here's a drizzle for y'all and all the good work that y'all do.
We haven't seen Clint in a while. How you been, bud?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Aardvark
I think, yeah.
219 said, Ball moron here. Check out Homicide Life on the Street if you like Wire.
That I've been told that. I've also been trying to get back into, oh my God, it's so funny. Original episodes of NYPD Blue. It's so funny how different the world was in 1993. Like every episode, it would have offended everyone in the most benign of ways.
Like what?
I can't even like the amount of things that are said that would be taken as like insulting, like the handicap. Like, just like the way that, you have to, the pilot, like in the initial pilot, like the first thing you see this main character do is like tells a reporter to like get off his nuts or something like that. Like it's really funny. And he's like the good guy.
You could say that on a modern show.
But you wouldn't, they wouldn't make the main character do that. It's just, it was a different time. It's also really funny to try and hear David Caruso, maybe he is a New Yorker, do like a New York accent after years of him on CSI Miami, where it's like, talking like a New Yorker, and it just it doesn't work.
Crossing the Line podcast said, place bets on who's going to come out as non-binary next. Emma Watson is a top contender.
That's a good question.
I don't know if she is.
I don't think she is.
She always been kind of, pretty feminine presenting.
Maybe Ruby Rose at one point if she didn't.
I thought she already did that.
I thought she liked being a lesbian.
I think she's just gay. We were watching this movie yesterday, and there's this character named, what was it, Syl in Samaritan, and I said they clearly wanted to hire Ruby Rose and like couldn't get her for the.
She did resemble Ruby Rose.
Yes.
I think you have to like monitor who is suddenly really embracing androgynous fashion and starts commenting on it publicly, because it's like, oh no, I just like.
It's like,
feeling
do you
I can express
actually
myself.
enjoy how you dress, or do you just enjoy the attention?
Or if you have to preach about how it's good and no representation of who you
and
are,
the
like what else is going
Wait,
on there?
do you have to dress androgynous to be non-binary, or can you just dress
you
like?
can do whatever, but I think that's going to be the clue to see who.
I thought
is,
the whole
like-
point was that there are no rules.
Okay,
Whatever.
we'll see.
1,000 Foot Deep End said, can't watch live today, just dropping by to wish y'all a great show. Thank you.
Aw, that's
Thank
so
you
nice.
so much.
Clint said, I have an interesting mom. She's a fairer mouthed version of Mary. When folks ask me what color she is, I reply, whatever the neon lights around her are.
You're opaque. You're opaque.
Let's see. Necrosomniac said, I thought of it at work today while listening to yesterday's podcast. I think it took me like 10 minutes.
Okay.
They don't allow you to do that multiple times, I think, though. Or at least not in quick succession.
Not in quick succession.
Yeah.
You have to wait. Like, I think Instagram is the same way. I remember that they wouldn't let me put an American flag on my thing for a long time.
Why?
Because I wouldn't go back to my Facebook. I don't look at Facebook, and you had to change it on Facebook too. It wouldn't let me touch. Let's go on to the next segment. We'll save and we'll continue in segment 2.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to move on, and we are going to talk about Captain America, guys. Captain America is back in the news because they're saying that basically they're going to bring him back and make him less patriotic on purpose.
What was so funny to me about this story is they were like, what casting decision can best represent how much we hate this country?
Chris Evans is perfect for that.
Our favorite Chris.
Yes.
He is just like the perfect representation of how much we hate patriotism.
He is a weird lib, right?
He's
super preachy, yeah.
Yeah, but like
it would make sense if the rumor is true.
So it says an insider
that
leak.
he's a homosexual?
What?
That's what I've always heard, that he's like secretly gay.
No, I thought that the
I've
character
heard
of Captain America was rumored to be gay.
I thought
Not
it was
Chris
That's
Evans.
because of they make the jokes about him and Bucky because they're best friends, and Captain America is famous.
Yeah, but I never heard anything about Chris Evans, the man.
Definitely heard this rumor at least twice about Chris Evans.
Is it like people wish that he was gay?
Well,
I
because
think they want the
like
character to
not
also
being able
be
to
gay.
make relationships work.
Deviant art wants everybody to
Very
be gay.
few celebrities can make relationships work. Though,
Okay,
so
But they think it's because he's not supposed to be dating women.
So it says Marvel and Chris Evans are
Chris Evans,
destroying.
don't sue me for defamation. I swear I read that on the internet.
Marvel and Chris Evans are destroying Captain America because of Donald Trump. I want to point out that this is a rumor. This is a rumor. It says an insider leak is claiming Disney, Marvel, Kevin Feige, and Chris Evans are going to destroy Captain America in the MCU, all because of Donald Trump and his supporters. The info comes from Disney leaker WW Pro of that Park Place. The site that recently leaked info on the Toy Industry Insider was among things. Oh, that was really interesting. I read this long article about that basically says like it's really funny because the article doesn't pull any punches. They're like chicks don't sell toys. It's like the whole thing's it's like Iron Man sells toys. Captain America sells toys. Hulk kind of sells toys. Chicks don't, like Black Widow, nobody buys it. Wanda, nobody buys. Yeah, like they're like, because boys are the one buying these toys, and boys that age don't care about.
I feel like for them to sell any products, they'd have to do like a Black Widow, like limited edition eyeshadow palette with like NARS or something, and then people might
that
buy
would work.
Yeah, that would work.
So
They're like
sure.
they're not selling the right products, because if they sell makeup, then it's like, oh, so
well, they're thinking about the wrong age demographic when it comes to the female characters. I'm confused by this, the conservative approach to the character that they're referring to.
He's absolutely
because
not
there's no conservative approach to writing the character, and there's no cult following of conservatives who just love Captain America and they think it's like the best representation of patriotism.
If anything, Captain America.
Or at least not this iteration. Like maybe
that
the comic
fan base
books
does
they
not
like.
exist.
No, they're making it up. So it says Chris Evans has reportedly been in talks with Marvel, thought to be for Secret Wars and/or another project, and is rumored to be appearing as Old Man Cap in Captain America 4, starring Anthony Mackie. The latest claim says Chris Evans and Captain America returning to the MCU is due to Marvel not liking Captain America being used by conservatives and Donald Trump supporters, much like the Punisher. Look, I've never seen that. I have this other article pulled up from about D. Snyder calling Trump fans maggot fascists.
Get it?
Maggot.
Mega.
Like because Trump used
It's a very
the song,
clever wordplay that he used.
Because Trump liked to use the song "We're Not Going to Take It" at his rallies. So it says the leak states that Feige intends on bridging the divide between the right and the left by having the Chris Evans Captain America join forces with the Anthony Mackie version to identify what makes America good and what needs to be recognized as flawed. You have 2.5 hours to tell a movie. Make it about aliens and a bunch of heroes in spandex saving the day. Save this shit for
you to be their political savior anyway.
Save this
literally
shit.
no one.
if this rumor is true, like, I just want to know how, like, the room full of out of touch people that this was taking place in.
They said that it's about Donald Trump and his America First policies. There's
no
nothing
one is
about...
even looking to this character or Marvel to, like, politically unite them.
Yeah. There's nothing America First about Captain America, if anything, in those movies. If anything, it's more that he's generally principled and believes that if he can help, he's going to help regardless of who or when. In fact,
if anything, the America First superhero would be, because of truth, justice, and the American way,
Superman.
Would be Superman.
There's actually the point they make in Captain America Civil War where they're putting through the Sokovia Accords, and the idea here is that they can't go into other countries to operate unless the world government, the UN, gives them permission to go into those countries to operate. And Captain America says, if I see something bad happening, I'm going to do my best to fix it, regardless of who says I can go there.
That's anti-UN. Interesting.
Yeah, yes. So I don't take that as an America First notion. If anything, he would be like, "Hey,
like
something bad's happened over in Sokovia. I guess that's none of my business." That's not what Captain America is. This is completely made up.
He is sort of, American in the sense that he's insistent on intervention.
Yes. He is very neoliberal, if anything.
I don't
right?
understand.
So they are concerned about literally everything but making a fun, entertaining movie. Literally everything.
This is more important than having fun.
Well, they want to do subtle social engineering, and they think that they're a lot smarter than the consumers. Yeah, but it's not. It doesn't actually come off as subtle at all. They're not accomplishing what they think they are.
It's also fun.
As dumb as maybe the average moviegoer might be, because they'll just take anything Marvel throws at them.
Yeah.
They still notice. Like, they still notice the messaging. It's not subtle. It's not sneaking in to the movie under our noses.
Also, like, all this is them being like, this character is called Captain America.
Yeah, they hate that.
We hate
it's exactly
America.
that. Yeah.
It's also funny because they're screwing Anthony Mackie over in the process. When Anthony Mackie played the Falcon, he was extremely beloved, and they love him as that character. The second they make him Captain America, even if you still love Anthony Mackie, you can tell that this is not genuine. Even if they did it in the comics, they did it in later runs, and Caper2X can inform me as what run that was that they actually made Falcon into Captain America. It's a later run, and nobody cares for that. They want him as the Falcon. They don't want him as Captain America. So you make him the bad guy, even though it's not his fault.
How is the Punisher used as logo, some kind of symbol of Donald Trump supporters?
They're saying because
I understand that some people like the logo, but that has nothing to do with the Punisher.
The military
at that point.
Well, they think it does. They're mentally ill. They think
Good
that
point.
They think that the average person who has a Punisher logo on their car is like read up on the lore of Frank Castle, when really the guy's like, look at the cool skull logo. Like, that's what the average cop or military person, they don't care about Frank Castle. Not really. They might have watched the TV show. Maybe they saw the awful movie with what was it? Was it Warzone? I don't remember which one it was with John Travolta in it. I think that one ended up being better than the other ones. But the point is, they know the logo means something vaguely like militaristic. They don't actually care about the character of the Punisher. So it says the leaders of the MCU reportedly disliked that they did not address the issue, meaning so they talk about it said that Kevin Feige is open to do a project with both versions of Captain America, which would bring the two together to repudiate the perceived negative aspects of America while still finding a cause to believe in. Can you imagine spending $20 to have them tell you
I want to know
this?
what that cause is. Other than some nebulous platitudes about unity,
racism
that no one asked for.
The leaders of the MCU reportedly disliked that they did not address the issues before Captain America retired from the character, states the leaker. I also love that Endgame was like almost 3 hours long, and they have all these characters and all these stories to get through, right? And they're supposed to how is that ever going to fit into something like, oh, Thanos is coming down and he wiped out half the planet. We got to fix everything. Yeah, but could you address the social concerns going on in the United States of America, please? Yeah. Half of the country was gone at that point. You can't do that. These people are nuts. They felt that having an African-American version of the character bear such a burden alone was unfair. So they're also burdening him with, like, they're treating him like an idiot and pretending like he's like he's lesser than Captain America because he's black. So they're racist too.
Is that what they're saying, though?
I mean,
or
whether they
do you
mean
think
to
it's
or
just
not.
like placing a burden of social, like promoting a social message on him that he didn't?
Then they're doing that
Expect.
by making it the topic of conversation at all. Mm-hmm. I go back and I watched Captain America Civil War recently, and there's the great scene at the beginning when they introduce Anthony Mackie's character where he is running around. Was it Civil War? Or was that somebody in the K2X or somebody in the chat can tell me? Was it Civil War or was it Winter Soldier when Falcon was introduced? I think it was Winter Soldier. Basically, Captain America's running around at the Capitol, and he keeps lapping Anthony Mackie's character. And it's this great introduction to a character who's a vet, works at like a veterans home, and all this stuff. And it's got nothing to do with these stupid social issues that don't have anything to do with these movies. And they're just turning people off and souring them on stuff that has nothing to do with telling comic book
what it's
stories.
doing is also catering to the feelings of the executives at Marvel, because they say it's further said that people at Marvel, not the fans of Marvel, not the people who casually watch Marvel movies because they enjoy them, the people working at Marvel lose it when they see Trump supporters wearing Captain America star logo shirts on television at Trump events.
Which is weird because it proves that they can't understand that integration is like a thing. That person might not be wearing it because they think of Captain America as some great symbol for the.
Like that
they
should
just
be
think
a
the
good
movies
thing for your company, because the symbols of the characters and IPs in the MCU have spread so far that people like don't even know what they mean anymore, but they're still buying the products.
No, see, I don't
That's
think
a
they
good
want,
thing for them.
They don't want their products. It's more important to them that their product is not associated with Trump's brand in any way. Hollywood hates nationalism. It hates patriotism. It hates any sort of alliance with the country. And so in some ways, this is the only way they think they have influence over people who think differently than they do.
I also want to point out when I said earlier.
But they do have the influence they want, but it's never enough.
No,
is that just a victim of the?
I don't think that they have the influence they want over people who are more interested in Donald Trump's policies. That's why you see so many parallel economies coming up right now, right? Like we see alternative platforms popping up. We see new people investing in making content and movies. That's why YouTube in some ways is such a weird place, because it gives a lot of independent creators who lean conservatively their own platform. I think that they think this character is more influential in MAGA spheres than it actually is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true. But also, if they're seeing Trump supporters wear Captain America star shirts and they lose it because of that, they are like loathe that it's that influential. It's like you have the influence over them that you wanted. But you have them buying your products. You have them buying the tickets to see the movies. And you can show them whatever you want in those movies.
So they have to make it worse to get you to stop wearing it.
They're just they happen to be Trump supporters, and they happen to casually enjoy this franchise.
They don't want them, though. They don't want to see their product in any
You think
sphere.
they're purely ideologues? They don't want money.
I think that they want money, but they don't want images on the internet of the Captain America symbol being at Trump
This is
rallies.
a thing. This is absolutely a thing with the Punisher logo in the comics, where they changed the logo so that and had him not use guns for a period of time because gun violence and also at least in the comics division, they're absolutely ideologically motivated. I also want to point out that when I said that they're worried about just about anything but making good movies, we also have Mark Ruffalo, who Tim actually talked about on his show today, who thinks the world is coming to an end, essentially.
He's worried about his future in acting and being in the MCU because he thinks that the world is about to end.
So I'm gonna read his quote. So this is the first quote. It says, "I mean, I'll probably do it as long as they'll have me. If people are interested and I can bring something that's interesting to me to it and interesting to the fans. But I have no idea. I mean, when you look at the comics, there's some pretty grizzled old versions of him." He's talking about Bruce Banner. "I'm like, okay, the 67-year-old Hulk, that would be interesting. If all of us are still here making movies and there's a world that allows for us to do that anymore. With With
whatever that means.
With what we're living in and heading towards, the future feels more precarious than any other time, so I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but I hope I'm still around to do it.
How many more times do people have to say, like, the future is so uncertain and precarious right now? The world seems very unknown right now. I'm so tired of hearing that.
There are a lot of ways that could be interpreted. Some would say it has to do with civil unrest. But now you're saying that it possibly is that he thinks the sea levels will rise.
He's a climate nut.
Or more likely, the tectonic plates are gonna just wipe out Hollywood.
I think that
they're gonna float off into the sunset.
Be cool if he thought the Earth was flat and he was actually sliding off it. Like, I want him to have a weird reason to think the world. I want him to subscribe to some, like, he thinks that
he thinks Yellowstone is gonna blow up.
Yeah, or like,
I want him to be like, he shook his magic 8-ball and it said, and he was like, is the world gonna end? And it said yes, and the magic 8-ball has never let him down before.
Or he's like he was a big fan of like the Mayans in 2012, and he think it was actually 2021. Now he's got to keep going. He's like, what's the next one? And he's actually just figuring out, like, or CERN. Maybe he blames CERN, and he thinks like the Large Hadron Collider is going to bring about the end of the world soon. Like, I like the idea that he thinks the world's going to end, but it's not because of civil unrest or climate change. He thinks it's for something funnier.
I think in some ways this comment, like, if there's still a world that points to it, like, it's not that he thinks the world will literally end. It's that he thinks, like, you know, evil people who think differently than he is are going to somehow take away his ability to produce movies. Like, it's like a fear of censorship.
Yep.
But maybe also he knows that this universe, the Marvel universe, while it does make money right now, is ultimately going to collapse. It's like a bubble. Like a housing bubble. He knows that this is overinflated. They're producing too much strange content that's not very good, and people will leave it behind.
So when he said what we're living in and heading towards, living in makes it sound like he's talking about civil unrest. Mm-hmm. Heading towards, to me, tells me that he thinks that every time he has to turn the air conditioner on, he's about to. I think he lashes himself.
Lashes himself.
Like every time he turns on his air conditioner, he like lashes. He gives himself 10 lashes because he's contributing to global warming.
This is okay. I'm looking at the interview, and it's a little bit out of context because what they asked him was half of the original 6 Avengers are no longer part of the MCU, and how long do you think you'll be playing Bruce Banner?
Yeah, but when he says what
and then
we're
he
living
said,
in,
I'm always surprised that I'm still here. We joke about that the Hulk is like our generation's Hamlet. We're all going to get a shot at it. I keep waiting for the next version of it. I mean, I'll probably do it as long as they'll have me if people are interested, and I can bring something that's interesting to me to it and interesting to the fans.
It is interesting.
But I think maybe he's talking about the future of the film industry and not just the future of the entire, like, country and the entire world.
I don't know,
and he would be right to say that.
Yeah, about the film industry,
that it's in a precarious situation,
he's
right?
Eventually,
maybe he's saying we as a royal we, or we as in we in at Marvel, or we in the entertainment industry.
Well, when he says that, when he says there's a world that allows us to do that anymore, I would have expected him to say there's an industry that allows us to do that anymore.
But they also say like entertainment world. Like I'm thinking of different possibilities than him thinking we're about to like drown.
Because like the interviewer is like, okay, well, next question. Now that you've given us your doomsday prophecy.
Well, the only thing they asked him after that was like asking him about the evolution of how he approaches the character. It's like not even seen as they don't like blink at it, you know. He
gets no leeway because he's such a weirdo on Twitter, and he's.
I'm hearing the answer in his annoying voice, in the annoying Mark Ruffalo throaty voice, and I just can't stand it.
I couldn't I like watching him get dressed down in She-Hulk was this weird moment where I'm like, it's kind of funny because Mark Ruffalo sucks, but it's also really annoying because it's super uber over the top feminism. I don't know what to think about this.
How much of She-Hulk have you watched?
Exactly 16 minutes of it.
Have you watched it?
I have not.
We're going to be reviewing a show called The Patient coming up, starring Steve Carell, and then we're also going to hopefully do the premiere for Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power.
Yep.
We're going to be trying to. And the hard part for doing that stuff is like with guests. always.
We can't always ask the guest to review something with us because it's a time commitment outside of the show.
Yes, like so people always ask like why we don't review more stuff. That's a big part of it. And it's like Taylor was on yesterday and had to basically listen to us talk about.
Yeah, and we also like to review things on the show because it reaches more people that way.
It's not as fun to just post it up.
It's also more immediate,
Yeah.
like, and you get to have people's reactions to what you're saying.
Yeah, people were chatting
real
and talking
time,
about
yeah.
the actual movie, which is
Yeah,
like people made points when we were talking about it that I thought were interesting that you miss out on if you don't during
But
the show.
keep shooting us ideas of like what you want us to review, though.
I'm excited to review The Patient. I started it earlier today, so we're going to get into that. So let's now that we've discussed the fact that Marvel cares about literally everything but making good movies, let's do super chats.
Yes. F-Off said 304s don't even know how to hem some jeans. Just start slow on these overachievers, then work your way to quilting. 19th.
I have a designated friend who brought in all my jeans because all my jeans had to be brought in at the knee to the leg to make them
Skater boy
skinnier.
problems.
Yes, so I had a designated jean.
A jean guy.
A jean guy.
F-Off said goldsmith for a fine jewelry store.
That's what he does for work. So you would have lost out on a lot of money if some stupid Hollywood production is there shutting down your business.
Waffles Sensei said Nightcrawler is a great movie about being a reporter, news gatherer.
Yeah, that's
very
good.
Wholesome, all about family values.
Is that the one with?
No, it's not. And also,
That's the one with
Jake,
Gyllenhaal.
it's also Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah,
I heard good things though.
Yes.
It's super good.
Maybe it's not wholesome, but I've heard.
I mean,
it's
it's
good.
like it's just fascinating. It's a really good watch. Guys, I've seen movies. Are you proud?
Bad app. I don't want to read that.
Wow, that was a very blunt. I don't want to read that.
I'm just not going to read it. Waffle Sensei said, fairly certain World of Warcraft is still the most played game in the world.
Really?
Is that true? Not like Fortnite or something
there
more
a-
trendy?
Is there like a qualifier, like most popular fantasy multiplayer game? You know what I mean?
Maybe.
Sometimes it's like it's the most played game
I
in
would
the
be
world
surprised.
in this category.
By that.
That's what like how it's like I mentioned the other day. There's John Boy Media has a thing that says stats that exist but don't matter. That's it's like there's
Or
always
like Taylor Swift is the first person to get 3 awards at the VMAs. Like
#1 songs during the month of January.
Were we like on the edge of our seats to find out who would be the first person to get 3 Video Music Awards?
Yeah. Nope.
No one was like wondering when that would happen.
There was the one earlier about Zendaya being like the first woman ever nominated for 2 of something. They're like not just the first guy, not just the first girl, the first person ever. And I actually liked that it was an actual record that was regardless of gender. But the snark, I could do without the snark.
person
Ever.
I want to start saying like last, like this person is the last
I'm the
person to win
absolute
this category,
last
and then we
woman.
close it out. Like as award shows die off, when we'll start having like the very last person to win.
It's gonna
Oscar.
happen.
Oh, I'm excited for it. I'm
Yeah.
rooting for it even.
Bobcat said, World of Warcraft sucked ever since they went full panda. I realized the Pandorans have been part of the lore since long before the Disney movie.
What?
I don't know what went full panda
I don't either.
I'm
means.
so excited to tell Tim that they're making a BioShock movie because Tim loves BioShock the game.
I don't know what that is.
He's gonna be very excited. I thought about super chatting it one night.
Clint said,
You
been
thought about
busy,
super chatting into IRL to tell our boss something?
Yes.
been busy
Nerd.
out of the country for 55 days.
Wow.
Also was referring to Mary recognizing me on IRL many moons ago. Speaking of which, love you on IRL, Mary. You have a fantastic brain and love it when you challenge Tim.
Well, more people need to do that.
I didn't know I challenged him that much.
Challenge the boss.
I guess I just only speak up when I have a disagreement to voice.
Mary scores very high on the disagreeable scale.
Very
It's
high.
It's what we love. about her.
Staggeringly high. Stephen Ellis said, welcome back, Typhoid Mary. Stay healthy. Thanks, I guess.
Well, I guess what other nickname would you expect after being gone for like half a week or 4 days?
like I came back and then fell ill. It
And I
was
think it's hard because you were gone. Like, you were traveling the week
anticlimactic.
before, so it seemed like you were ill for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
Clint said, "Fairer foul mouthed." I don't know why my messages get so messed up on here. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
I love that we have the party count now,
Yes.
so I don't have to wonder.
You see that up in the corner? Get
Mm-hmm.
the party counter.
Yeah. Does that have a delay?
That's cool.
No, it turns before the sound goes off.
Really? Because we've had 3 now.
Yep. No, that one, because that one, as soon as that one went through, it starts. That was like right at the 5-minute loop.
Okay.
Yep.
Necrosomniac said, Hannah, my last comment was about the poem.
So he said...
Oh, he like wrote the poem in about 10 minutes.
The one at the beginning of the show.
Okay. What? Not changing his username.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that's impressive, man. Bobcat said, forget Captain America, support BJ Blazkowicz. Wolfenstein is better than any Marvel movie.
I'm about over Marvel. I mean, I've been over Marvel, so that doesn't really matter. We watched the movies out of like a weird sense.
I feel like you hold out hope for them. Like it's like a loyalty thing. You've been doing it for so long.
I was never a big Marvel movie fan anyways. I watched them, but like more out of like a resigned sense of like social commitment to what was going on, and they were actually fine at the beginning. Now there's so many shows, so many movies. I don't care. I don't want to watch She-Hulk. I don't want to watch.
Majorly oversaturated.
I will watch Daredevil, the Daredevil show when it comes out, but it's not going to be the same. I will watch. I guess we'll watch the movies because the movies will be a thing where everybody here will go. Mm-hmm. But the Daredevil show is about the only one, and even then, it's like they're going to ruin it. Fisk's character won't be the Fisk from the Netflix series. Matt Murdock's character will not be the character from the series. When I watched She-Hulk, the first 19 minutes or whatever I got through of She-Hulk, I had to turn it off and turn on Daredevil season 1 just to like wipe my palate
Watching
clean.
The new Marvel content never fails to make me feel like I'm out of touch because it's so popular and I just don't understand why. Like Thor Love and Thunder did surprisingly well in theaters, but when I saw it, I was just insanely underwhelmed.
Same with, none of those movies are doing that well. Compared
Not like
to
I have high expectations of it, but still. Yep. Waffle Sensei said, well, I guess you can try and ruin Captain America for MAGA or people who love America, but you're certainly not going to acquire the leftist crowd who hates America. Have at it, Marvel. I'm here for it.
They could just call him Captain Globalist.
Is Captain America particularly popular anyways? Like, I know he comes out, but like in
Captain
the
America
hierarchy
sells.
of like their things, is he top 2, top 5? Like, where does he fall?
I don't know where. I think when I think of top 3 now, I still think of Batman, Superman, Iron Man. Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Iron Man. Those are the top 4 that I think of. And
of DC and Marvel.
Of DC and Marvel, yeah. Like
I wonder if there's like some kind of official way to rank them.
Yeah, you get a bunch of like creepy. Or not creepy, dorky.
You just called them creeps.
Subtle slip over there.
You get a bunch of dorky nerd sites with their listicles, and I'm over it. I'm over it.
Clint said, that's insanity. Guns are the Punisher's superpower. This is why I haven't bought a new comic in over a decade. I did buy Isom.
That's it's the Eric D. July comic.
Okay, I wasn't sure
from the Rippaverse.
Yep. That. Hobbit said, Hollywood wiped out equals little value lost. I didn't call for violence. I just mean if they peacefully were detached from the mainland.
I have this like image of like Hollywood studios. Like, do you guys know like parts of, you ever driven through like an industrial town that used to have like very clearly in the 40s and 50s had like a very vibrant main street with like the storefront?
Detroit,
and now it's like empty. I feel like I wonder if we'll ever reach that point in Hollywood where like these studios will be like overgrown or be like the trees growing through them.
They're walled off, so you wouldn't be able to see in.
Yeah, but like you could see the tree coming out of the top and the walls would be crumbling. Yeah. Like, will we ever have a
Warner
Hollywood
Brothers,
that just like is a ghost town?
Mm-hmm. It's like
Twitter headquarters is sort of a ghost town of a campus.
They've like spray painted dicks all over the walls of the superhero, or of the studios. That'd be funny.
Gold Mecro said the Punisher and Captain America existed long before the MCU. People identified with the themes those characters represented. If they don't like it, oh well. Yep. But what were those themes? Did Captain America actually have a patriotic theme, or did they do away with that?
I don't know if it's necessarily themes. It's that they went on a lot of journeys and adventures with these characters at a time that was a lot less politically stricken. So they it
wasn't even thought about like that, that they would insert a theme to it. Yep. Waffle Sensei said, fact check, World of Warcraft is number 2. Fortnite is now number 1 most played game.
That makes sense.
Called it.
There
I knew it. Bad App said, review the most hated man on the internet. You aren't seen until your blank or blank was on blank.
Okay.
Johnny Derp said, speak up when you read, Mary. No more of that ghost whisperer nonsense. Is my microphone not working? Because I don't think I'm being quiet.
How are your speakers or your ears, sir?
I can hear myself pretty well.
I mean,
I hope it's not like an audio issue. Am I quiet?
Maybe he's just bullying you.
Could just be bullying you. All right, let's move on. Mary, do you wanna get us into Shia LaBeouf?
Yeah, we told you guys that we were gonna cover this yesterday, but I wanted a little more time to write this article. So Shia LaBeouf is starring in a new film written by Abel Ferreira called Padre Pio, after the saint that it's about. Can
you tell us first, before we get into it, who Padre Pio is? Because I had no idea.
Yeah, so he's a Catholic saint who lived in the 20th century. He died in 1968. He was a mystic. He at least is purported to have experienced visions, to have had the ability to read people's souls, to do healing, and also to bilocate. It said that he
bilocate,
like he would be seen and interacted with in multiple locations.
Cool.
Before and after his death. And it's also said that he physically fought with demons and with the devil, and he had stigmatic wounds on his hands and feet that happens when Christ's wounds, like the same place where Christ had wounds, present on somebody.
I did see that movie, Stigmata.
That's a movie?
There's a movie called Stigmata.
What is it about?
It's about, I have no recollection. It was just about, I just remember it being about Stigmata.
Yeah. So he also was investigated, like he had his stigmata investigated by the church. He wasn't universally believed when he was alive, but after his death, even during his life, he had a lot of like devotees essentially, and people who really respected him and venerated his spirituality and his piety, and people would just line up for days to go to confession with him and receive the sacraments from him and just be near him. And after his death, there have been a lot of miracles attributed to him. He was canonized in the Catholic Church in 2002. There's your overview for who this guy is.
And Shia LaBeouf is going to be playing him in the movie.
He's going to be playing Padre Pio. I think he met Abel Ferreira through, or one of the screenplay writers. There's two of them. I forget the name of the other one. He met them through Zoom rehab type of therapy group.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly AA, was it? It was some kind of spirituality Zoom discussion group that he was in when he was trying to repair his life in like 2019 or 2020. And then he stayed at Franciscan Friary to prepare for this role. He originally thought that this role was going to save his career because he was kind of in a self-destructive bout of his life.
Yeah, he called himself nuclear at that time. His agent wouldn't touch him. His own mom wouldn't talk to him. This is before the lawsuit with FKA Twigs.
Even before the lawsuit.
And so what I took from this is that he went in to find one thing, which was a way to repair his career, and he found something much, much deeper than that.
Repair himself spiritually and repair his relationships.
Yeah.
And then he ended up, in the process of preparing for this role, converting to Catholicism. So he recently did an interview that was like an hour and a half long with Bishop Robert Barron, he's the founder of Word on Fire. It's a Catholic ministry group. He has a pretty big podcast, and he's pretty well known on YouTube.
Yeah, he's got a pretty big following.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've known about him for a while. So they did a pretty long, mostly like unedited interview where they just talked about how he prepared for this movie, how he wanted to play the role, and then also how he fell in love with attending Latin Mass, and just really how he let go of his ego and his extreme need for control over his career and his life. So what I referred to as the lawsuit just now was a sexual battery case that was filed by his ex. She's also famous. She's a singer named FKA Twigs. She's actually going to be in, what is it, The Crow?
The Crow remake with her her current boyfriend or something.
That's filming right now, isn't it?
Yes.
They met on set for his autobiographical film, for Shia's autobiographical film Honey Boy in 2018, and they didn't date for super long, but she alleges that during their relationship he was physically abusive, that he made her fear for her life at times, trying to run a car off the road when they were both in it, that he knowingly gave her an STD, that he choked her. I believe that he also hit her. That these are all the allegations in this lawsuit. And of course, in the process, inflicted extreme emotional distress on her. And she believes she's entitled to damages. So this was filed in December 2020, and now he's scheduled to go to trial for this in April next year. So this is kind of looming over him while this film is about to come out, and I'm interested in how it's going to affect his public perception and also the believability of this role. He's literally playing a saint.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of people still think of him as a monster.
Well, and he's still married to Mia Goth, right?
Yes, and they have a kid.
Yeah. So he's very complicated already.
A lot has happened in a very short period of time in his life.
I want to kind of operate under the principle, if we're to take him, not him, if we're to take what are the allegations against him as true, right? That's for the courts to decide. Obviously, that will be a civil proceeding, not a criminal proceeding. Yeah. If we operate under the assumption that what she's accusing him of is accurate, is that a problem in portraying this, or does it speak to the transformation that he's talking about having from playing this character into his personal life? Does that speak to his growth as a person?
Yeah, where I'm leaning is that it's entirely possible that he could be guilty of what is being alleged against him, but also that he did heal himself a lot in preparing for this movie, and that his religious conversion is a genuine movement of his heart, and that he is genuinely trying to be a better person.
Yeah.
All of that can be true at the same time, but that's not something that audiences are prepared for right now, because you're not allowed to be complicated and human and have a redemption arc,
especially
anymore.
With crimes against women,
especially if it's a sexual misconduct situation.
Yeah, I think the sexual misconduct is the biggest hurdle, because if he had been indicted for tax fraud, right? What's Shakira going to jail for? They would be people make mistakes. Sure.
I would argue even violent crime is more forgivable to most of society than anything. Violent crime against other men is more forgivable than a sexual
any kind of
crime
domestic abuse or sexual misconduct
against a woman. Yes.
And I'm actually surprised that that's not looming over more of the media coverage of this film. But there was I saw a lot of headlines about his interview. It's interesting because this is what appears to be a real path to redemption for someone, but it can't be that way in the eyes of the media, because
they don't believe in redemption.
They don't believe in redemption. They also hate the Catholic Church.
Yeah. Yep.
So him converting to this religion that is universally kind of hated or seen as okay to mock in Hollywood, it's not a PR decision. It clearly isn't the good PR decision for Shia LaBeouf.
It wouldn't do him any good. Not his
that
career.
Makes it more believable that this is a genuine place that he's been led to. He's not trying to spin a story on us.
Yeah,
which I would be skeptical of.
Because my initial statement was I'm right. I think it's okay to at least be hesitant anytime somebody makes some type of drastic change like this. This comes from rehab. and from that world where you hear people say that they're going to change hundreds of times, oftentimes before they actually do. And a lot of times when they actually do change, they don't announce it when it's happening because the change is transformational and does not need to be announced.
If it's organic, you don't need to frame it to
It's
other
interesting.
people.
Did you say that he's working on this project with someone he met in like Zoom rehab, maybe therapy or something?
Yeah, it was he's already like an accomplished filmmaker, but they were in the same.
But like specifically the producer or something?
I forget the name of the guy.
Right.
I would need to go back to
It's
and
okay.
play the interview.
My point is
know,
just
but
that
yeah.
like
That's how they
Honey
met.
Boy is also a project that he wrote while he was in rehab. So there's not a specific point to this other than like he is clearly at his most maybe creative when being self-reflective, which isn't
in the
not
interview.
predicted. I also think it's interesting that like I don't know how long they've been filming this, but his daughter, he has like a kid with Mia Goth who's like 5 months old. So in some ways, you know, it's just anecdotal, but people tend to find becoming a parent very impactful, and for a lot of people it does shift your perspective on, you know, things that you've been through or your like what your goals are in life, if you didn't already have, you know, certain priorities. So all of this is coming at a time of like, it seems like
extreme transition
or like growth, or like he is really searching for stuff now that he is not the like former teen star or kid star who's like struggling, right? Like who is he after that?
And oddly enough, he did not mention his like being married or being a father in the interview, even though it was intensely personal.
And
I mean, how do you confront that when you're like Catholic? You're a new Catholic, but also your relationship, like we don't know that Mia Goth is converting. Like
I don't know.
I don't think people who convert have to be perfect right away. Like it's a growth period, but like there's some clarification needed on how this is impacting his lifestyle, right?
Sure.
Is he Catholic in name only, or is he Catholic in day-to-day life?
It's unclear like where he's at in the catechetical process, but it seems that he in every way intends to become Catholic in every sense of the word. Like he wants to receive the Eucharist is what he was saying in the interview.
I think it'd be cool to see him like really find peace, because it does sound like, you know, he's a complicated person and he has done wrong, but also like I think he was very wronged as a child from what I understand. And like
Really?
Yeah, it sounds like lots of messed up stuff happened to him. Like he's a complicated person. I do think though, like
Did you watch
like
Honey Boy?
Yeah, I did.
Did you gather that from it? From
Oh,
Honey
it's like
Boy
blatant
then?
and obvious. In
Okay.
it. He had a very abusive father is basically like the crux of it. Again, he has done wrong and I think he has been wrong, but he also strikes me as someone who seems to be really struggling with identity. And so if this movie is impactful and it makes a lasting change in his life, which like it could, that'd be great. I am not ready to say that wouldn't have been influenced. Like if he was playing a Buddhist monk, he would have been maybe been like, oh, Buddhism makes sense too. Like I think people who
actually he references Buddhism a couple of times in that interview, and I want to point out that you said that he seems to do his best, or he gets a lot of inspiration from times of emotional turmoil. He actually points that out in the interview. He talks about the difference between different methods of acting, and that he's not cerebral, he's emotional in his acting portrayal, that he needs to really feel the character in a specific way. So perhaps the only roles that really he feels suited for right now when you're emotionally raw are roles that cut that deeply. Otherwise, he doesn't feel like he can get to the center of the character. I don't know if that's necessarily like I said, I was hesitant at first to be like, look, you maybe you dive that deeply into something and you feel that you've made this transformation, and maybe it's just him feeling the effects of what it was. But he's so well versed now in what he talked about that it feels like it's deeper than just a passing interest in something because of a role.
Yeah, like he said, the traditional Latin Mass is something I've been homesick for my entire life. Like, I don't take that lightly, even if you are a celebrity, and I am skeptical of anything celebrities do or say because it's inherently public and it does affect your career. That does seem genuine.
It could be as simple as like just the fact that he's admitting to falling into Catholicism when it's so not liked by Hollywood is enough of a reason to be like, what's the benefit of doing this? Like,
yeah, I mean, I suppose you could say it professionally will benefit him to be seen on screen again.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the film, regardless of what it means for him personally, actually, as a Catholic, and I think there could be like a peak for Catholic filmmaking.
As a Catholic, do you feel like he like finding religion at a time that was that tumultuous for him, meaning that they talk about in the interview that he was absolutely suicidal when he came into this role? Was that just the impetus that he needed to find, like, would he have been...
That his ego led him... It actually ended up being, like, the avenue through which he, like, found...
Would he have been able to do that if he wasn't in such a place?
If he wasn't motivated by, like, such selfish things.
Yeah.
Then he wouldn't have ended up in this situation.
Yep. So, I
Wait,
find...
are you asking, like, he was able to convert because he...
I'm asking, does the rawness of his emotional state play a role in him finding it that way?
I think you would never be able to answer that without him. Like, that's up to him. I think there are people who are not going through times of severe stress who find religion and find it to be fulfilling and meaningful.
Is religion found... Well, but I'm saying for later converts, does it tend to come from a place of emotional turmoil, or does it tend to...
I mean,
people
not necessarily turmoil, but just a searching, and I think he had that. Like, I wrote that he had to draw upon his own inner turmoil for inspiration to retell Padre Pio's story, because even though Padre Pio was... he's, like, revered as a man of incredible virtue, and he doesn't have the same, like, backstory or history that you could say LaBeouf has. He was still known to be troubled. He found his stigmata humiliating. He was kind of isolated socially.
Yeah.
He had to celebrate Mass alone in his room.
So he has to draw on his own experience, given his... Shia LaBeouf has to recall his own...
He didn't fit into society, and also, like, Shia LaBeouf, I'm sure, feels that way. So
his own mom wouldn't talk to him, he said, at this time. Like, he's like, his manager wouldn't talk to him, his mom wouldn't talk to him.
Yeah, because he was so... Like, he said his mom was so ashamed of what came out about this lawsuit, like, that he would treat someone like this.
His story, like, that line, though, like... I'm not an expert on this, but I'm pretty sure Justin Bieber at one point, because he, like, raced all of his cars and drugs and whatever he was into, like, there was a time when it was reported that he and his mom had a really big rift. It's interesting because now he is very openly Christian. He's gotten married.
He's always been Catholic or Christian.
He's always been Christian.
But not as, like, openly devout as he appears to be now. I mean, I do think that, like, part of religious conversion can come from emotional turmoil and searching, but I also think that, like, Shia LaBeouf in particular is a person in turmoil in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And
I do think that, like, I have no reason to root against him becoming Catholic. Like, that's great if it finds, you know, whatever you need. He seems like he was on a pretty dark path. I just don't think that it's a straight and narrow. I mean, in some ways, I don't want to equate it to recovery because I know that's not something I, like, can talk about very specifically. But, like, it's not always like I am now a Catholic and I'm moving forward. Like, it's something that I think he will struggle with for a while, and, like, converting your lifestyle is more challenging than I think you realize. It's like when you find religion or you find sobriety or whatever else, like, initially I assume there's a lot of euphoria with it, right?
There's the first year of sobriety for me, I remember being almost like a drug in and of itself, because the feeling of being clear-headed is almost like that in and of itself, because you've been foggy for so long. So I have to ask, is Ezra Miller going to be able to find his way back through, if he was to find religion?
Privately,
I was trying to think of who's in turmoil that could use some.
Like, I don't think anyone is beyond help.
Yeah,
and I genuinely don't think that.
But I think you have to want help, and I think
that was a ridiculous example on my part.
You have to be willing to not publicize your recovery to improve your career opportunities.
I also think that Ezra Miller doesn't have the incentives tethering him to Earth.
No, I was kidding.
Like,
I'm
being totally serious though. Like, Shia LaBeouf, like, clearly values his relationship with his mom. He's a, like, social person,
and his child,
and he has a child.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's like. Well, I mean, if he was dating someone while he was married to Mia Goth, it seems very complicated. But, like, he has more incentive to think, like, I have to find a way here. Whereas Ezra Miller doesn't want to be accountable to anyone but himself, right? He wants to build his own doctrine. It's much like I don't think Jared Leto will ever convert to Catholicism because he'd have to bend to Catholicism, and he doesn't want to. That's why he has the cult.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a clip came up last night, the Chris Pratt interview where he talks about finding grace and stuff like that. And it's so weird now to think that he's kind of like walked back religion. It does feel almost more cowardly in a way that he like walked it back after.
Did he? I mean, we talked about that, and I remember it was me and Lydia and you, and
I felt like he was walking it back. I felt like he was.
I think we kind of convinced you of that though, because at first you weren't like totally open to thinking he walked it back, because it's like why does he owe you the explanation anyways?
I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt, but he said like I'm like this poster boy for religion when he says I'm not even that religious, or I'm like that's walking it back.
And it's actually like, no, you've been outspoken about your faith. Don't act like you haven't been.
That was why I pulled that interview, that clip we got like struck for on here, because I played this clip where he talks about
very explicitly.
I think
faith-based.
That evangelical culture, like evangelicalism in America, comes with certain tenets of having to be outspoken about your faith. And so often I could imagine, being religious is a complicated journey. And while some people are consistent in their faith and they feel it always, like most people ebb and flow with it, right? And so if you're Chris Pratt, I don't think you necessarily want to be, I don't think anyone necessarily wants to be the poster boy for Christianity in an industry that hates it, because you're going to fail, and at times you are going to struggle with your identity as a Christian. And I think that's
you just shouldn't have said anything then and not responded. Should have just left it alone.
But I think that's part of it. Like he doesn't want to have to be the voice of Christianity. Like whenever they're like Christian celebrity Chris Pratt, you know what I mean? Like that's a lot of pressure for someone who's only human and who's ultimately going to evolve in their relationship with their religion.
I think this is why, like, as somebody who's not religious, talking about this stuff fills me with a lot of hope, even in a way, because of the concept of redemption in an industry that increasingly doesn't believe in redemption and talks a hell of a lot more about the concept of original sin than I hear from actual Christians these days. Social justice has its own version of original sin, and that's infected Hollywood to its core. So hearing the concept of redemption and people making mistakes, as somebody who's made a lot of mistakes, finds that strangely comforting in a way.
And it's not just the industry that is kind of trying to go beyond the need for redemption. It's all of society, and anyone feels like they could be in danger of being depersoned for thank you depersoned for their offense against whatever group, whatever public figure decides to flay them.
It also feels like,
so it's like that's why we want stories like that so badly.
It also feels like that there will, like, for whatever struggles or things that happen within the church, that they're welcoming people at the height of their problems, right? At the when they're at the most tumultuous points in their life. So maybe that, for somebody who's not religious, sees that as like maybe that's why a lot of people find religion in prison. That's not uncommon for people to find religion in prison or in recovery.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very strong portion of a lot. It wasn't for me, but a lot of people in recovery find religion at that time because it's the only thing that they can find tangible to hold on to, given all he talks in this interview a lot about feeling like he was beyond redemption, like he was talking about dealing with people that were worse than him, who found salvation? I don't remember the word he said for it, but that that found their way back from far worse than even he had committed. So I think a lot of people are drawn to that. So.
I think there's like a hesitancy to explore religion. Like some people have questions about it, but they feel like they are not ready yet to like they're still too imperfect to pursue it. Like when you convert, the expectation is that you become perfect, or when you, like, if you were raised in a Christian household and then you don't pursue it as an adult and then you decide you want to, it's like, well, but I'm not good enough yet. Like, I'm going to mess it up. And so they delay doing it. And I think that when you're in a place where you more critically need help and you need guidance, you are much more like, well, this is where I am, so please help me. And it becomes easier. Like, I think that middle ground of not being in intense emotional crisis, or you're not behind bars, or you're just kind of living your life, but you're looking, it becomes more intimidating to try and say, like, I want to explore religion, but I feel like I am not there. I'm going to mess it up.
I also want to make, before we move on, I want to make one, I want to ask a couple of questions about the idea we've been pulling into. This wasn't on the docket for today, but we've been talking about parallel economies with the Daily Wire and with all these independent creators creating new media that's outside of the Hollywood bubble that's very clearly anti-Christian, anti-Catholic. I would caution hesitancy for the Daily Wire to get into religious filmmaking for now. And lend it more towards independent people who are not connected with a company, because I think it will brand them in a way that they don't want to be right now, whether they are religious or not. I don't think it's a good idea for them to dip into that right now. Mel Gibson can reach more audiences with his religious films outside of that parallel economy. That I would just caution against that.
What was the
Mark Wahlberg?
Father Stu. Okay, would you count that as a religious movie, or was it a movie about a religious storyline? Do you know the distinction I'm trying to make?
It's better made than most religious
I'm
movies.
curious to see if there's ever a space to have religious storytelling that isn't like considered like a strictly religious film.
I feel like religious film has a negative connotation because
it's called faith-based in the Hollywood circles. They call it faith-based filmmaking.
Or faith-based has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
And
also,
that's because the production value has been like,
so low,
kind of crap for the religious movies.
Team.
Like, it's been very Hallmark.
Father Stu looked very good.
Not in a
It's
good
not
way.
good.
Father Stu looked great. I enjoyed
fantastic.
Father Stu a lot. And I said that I'm the audience they should be searching for there, because I feel like I crap on like Marvel and them like looking for alternative audiences because they've got such a strong basis for their movies and everything altogether. But if you're trying to if the goal of the religion is to expand and find more, like you want to draw more people into faith, right?
Yeah.
That you need to do so in a way that reaches more than the people that are already there. You went to Father Stu, whether you like the movie or not, you already know what you believe. But somebody like me, who is a snob and will point out the flaws in the movie, making a good movie goes a long way in helping spread that message to somebody who might not normally come to see it. So I would like to see, if we are going to see religious movie making, come from independent filmmakers, not necessarily from a Daily Wire or Breitbart.
Because then it would just be too heavy-handed.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Not organic.
It would be the same criticism that we give to movies that come from people from a complete left-leaning ideology. Like, if you're not able to appreciate the nuance, then like your film is not going to really reach impactfully a wide audience.
Yep. Let's do super chats.
Clint said, "What's the record for crisis parties?"
Clint, that is a fantastic question.
Right?
The number is 7, and we would like to beat that someday.
We're close today.
Yes,
Dave still has it.
Dave and Ian. Dave and Ian,
yes,
they were together.
Ian.
It was a.
Dane will attribute that to himself solely.
Oh my gosh!
Thank you.
That was
so we're 1 away right now.
No, we're at 5.
We're 2 away.
The numbers.
We're still close.
Yes. It's all the Shia LaBeouf in Marvel talk. It's an unbeatable combination.
Gold Macro said themes: loyalty, integrity, selflessness for Captain America.
Yep.
Justice, retribution, and vengeance for Punisher.
Yep.
Is vengeance a theme that we want for a hero?
He's not a hero. He's an anti-hero.
Well,
at best.
Anti-hero.
They found ways, like in the TV show, they found ways to make it more palatable than sometimes it actually is. I actually like when they unflinchingly lean into the unpalatable nature of a lot of it, but they don't really have the guts to do that anymore.
Well, that's sort of Black Adam.
Yes.
That's what Black Adam's supposed to do.
In the past, I would have been more, like, I'm more jaded on that concept now. But like in The Punisher, like in the show, for instance, there's a scene where he's committing all these atrocious acts against gangbangers, and that's acceptable, right? Because they're gangbangers, they made their life choices. But even some people then would question whether that's necessarily whether he's doing the right thing. But there's like one scene where he's in a pawn shop and a guy like offers him child bad materials.
Oh my god.
And you just see him like lock the door, like you know what he's about to do to this dude because he had a daughter that passed. So that's vengeance, but that's also in his mind justice that's not through the legal system.
Yeah, I think we don't know how to like hold vengeance as a value in our society because it's like it seems like it can border on unhinged vigilantism, but I also think that like I can't help but advocate for the Western movies to make a comeback because in a time when law enforcement wasn't well established or reliable,
that makes
it reminds you of something like the idea that like if you wrong someone, they had the right, and it wouldn't be that confusing if they then sought vengeance. And
without the legal system in its place. Like one of the most frustrating themes for me for any cop show is when they argue like it's not vengeance or it's not justice, it's vengeance. No, it's justice.
Good cop, bad cop.
Yeah, and I'm like, I just roll my eyes. I'm like I was like, I don't know what they're about to say, but it's not going to be compelling because they're not good at doing that actual discussion.
Well, and if you don't trust both law enforcement and the legal system to bring you justice, like. Are you actually are we surprised that people would think like, well, then you should have the right to seek out vengeance on your own, especially if you're willing to accept the consequences? There was this dad who like I only read the headlines of the story. I didn't read in depth. He's in the Pacific Northwest somewhere. His daughter's boyfriend sold her into like sex slavery, and so he murdered him. And
I remember that. I don't
know. That does seem like he never got his daughter back, as far as I know.
If he got sentenced, it was probably pretty merciful,
right? Like
because people understand,
right? And like you shouldn't murder someone. That's not right. No. But on the other hand, like you can't say that this was just like a random killing. This seems like the justice system, the law enforcement failed to find his daughter, from what I remember about this, and then also like he was not happy with the fact that this guy wasn't being held accountable. Like
here's a really interesting example in a television show of like somebody who's has complete faith in the legal system. In the show Person of Interest, the character of Joss Carter, like her kid gets kidnapped. Like she's like protecting mobsters, bringing them into protective custody because she's offered them protection against this other guy who's trying to kill them, right? And this other mobster that's trying to take them all out. And that mobster that's coming to kill those 3 ex-mafiosos takes her son hostage, and she still doesn't release them because she just has this, like, she knows that the other main character's like going after to save them, but any normal parent would just let them go because they're afraid for the life of their son, but she believes in the justice system. It's very, very interesting how, like, I'm almost like it's not realistic. Nobody would ever actually do that, but it's kind of interesting to think of the idea of a character that unwavering in their belief in right and wrong. Like, she's like, by releasing her son, who's an innocent, she sentences these three men to death. But these 3 men are only accused of crimes. Everyone knows they're guilty, but they haven't been proven guilty in a court of law. So she's like, she won't release them to their deaths, even if it meant the death of her son. And that's a theme that I think most wouldn't touch now. Now the kid is the one place you don't go, right? That same bad guy, the one who's going after them, in an episode later on in the series, locks a dude in like a freezer truck with a baby until he like gives him the information he wants, and that guy eventually becomes like an anti-hero in the show. Like, wow, like that he's that they considered him redeemable through future acts. And like I think it's more like they're like, let's just maybe they'll forget one day that he like locked a baby in a freezer, but like they redeem him later on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Waffle Sensei said those hips did lie about their taxes.
Well, you know, with hips like Shakira, not only are you gorgeous, you're a tax hero. So go. We love you. We love you, Shakira. Woo! We are one away.
That's crazy.
We are one away.
We're technically 2 away from getting a new record.
Yes, but we're 1 away from
time.
Guys,
I just want to tie. How can I compete with Dave and Ian?
That is true.
That's like a double punch, man.
Yes.
Bob Loblaw said, "First time catching you guys live.
No way.
Keep up the great work."
Thank you. I love
hearing that.
I love hearing, like, anytime I get to hear people say that they're catching it live for the first time and they actually like the show or love the show, that means a whole lot to me.
There was a time I was on IRL and someone super chatted in to say like that they love watching Pop Culture Crisis and that they watch it every day. She watches it every day with her, like, I don't know, 8-month-old baby or something. And I was like, yes, we are the after school special.
Is that necessarily a good thing? Not sure.
We could literally be raising children on Pop Culture Crisis. This is amazing.
We're the new Cocomelon.
It felt like a really intense compliment.
Wow.
America's babysitter. That'll be us.
Darth Doza said, oh, bad up, I'm not reading that, by the way.
Yeah, I knew you weren't going to read
Darth
that one.
Doza said, "My personal journey back to Catholicism came from a huge longing and sense of loneliness that wasn't filled anywhere else. I hope Shia is honest in intention, and if he is, I hope he's able to find peace and grace."
Maybe that's more what I meant when I was asking that question. It's like, do you find his, I guess it's not really fair of us to judge or to kind of ponder, but like, do you
it's
find
fair to ponder because it's a public matter, but
do you find his like, is it fair to question his authenticity or his intention?
I think that's entirely fair.
I think it's fair.
Not to make a conclusion, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's fair and I think it's natural because he's doing it like he's like, while I was filming this movie, I converted, and you want to be like, interesting, okay.
It's a great,
Hook.
endorsement of your own film.
That's interesting. But
now tell me you were making somebody else's movie that you're not in and all. Yeah.
Or that you weren't working and like you suddenly avert a Catholic.
Yeah.
The thing is, I just feel like it's important to point out that I suspect Hollywood will be like, if he has any issues in the future behaviorally or, in terms of his conduct, they're either going to say like, I thought you were a converted Catholic. I thought that you were better than this now. Mm-hmm. And for most people who convert, it's not linear, like to Christianity or Catholicism. There are times that you are struggling with it. Like it is not just you put on a different shirt and suddenly you're an excellent Catholic or excellent Christian. And I think Hollywood will look for, I think in some ways he's putting a target on his back to be like, oh, you said you were a Christian now. I thought you were better than this. And I fear for him in a way because there'll be added pressure.
Yeah. Darth Doza said, at Mary, nobody is beyond help, simple and true.
That's a very.
Would you say so?
I would say, I don't know if it's simple, but it's definitely something that it gives me hope.
It's complicated.
That gives me hope.
True.
As Tim would say, it's complicated. that gives me a lot of hope that nobody's beyond saving.
Hobbit said, "You must be humbled before you can be converted."
Maybe that
was something he really stressed in the interview, that he had to be like humbled and let go of his ego.
Maybe that's the problem for me, is I'm just hyper skeptical or like I have a hard time buying in to just about anything, like I struggle with that aspect of it. Like for me, like even working here, I'm constantly questioning everything I hear from every side all the time because your ego doesn't want you to feel like you've been duped. Maybe it's less like you're intellectual and more you're afraid of being like thought of as stupid because you got something wrong. So you're always questioning everything and have a harder time actually laying claim to a concept or an idea.
I think ideally we'd live in a world where we give people the grace to grow and evolve in their opinions, right? Like every day I learn new information that informs my worldview. But I think so often when people are open about their religious conversions, they are suddenly supposed to defend all of the religion or explain everything or be perfect right away, and that is an extremely difficult bar to hold to anyone to in terms of their faith or in terms of their political knowledge, and it's also not healthy, right? Like we want people who are free to ask questions and evolve.
We just got 10 parties.
What?
No. What?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Is it gonna happen all at once? Oh my god, I'm so nervous.
Let's keep reading.
Wait, does Brett have to bleach his hair?
No.
Wait, was that 10 or 20?
No, it's 15. It's 15.
Is it 15? You have to confirm because I wasn't here.
It's 15. I'll go back and watch the episode.
It was 15?
Brett just confirmed.
Guys, 15 parties.
What did we say
and Brett
for 10?
bleaches his hair.
Yeah, I said maybe you would bleach it for him.
Yes.
It's a fun family affair.
We're not making this
Wait, we got 10?
Yeah.
Is it happening?
Now we know because of the party count, but they're all gonna happen like I guess over and over.
No, it'll just happen.
I don't
once.
know.
There's like there won't be 3 separate parties because they've
okay.
all been done in quick succession.
Okay.
So, all right.
Clint said, "I'm on the Father Mike train at the moment, and if he says Shia is redeemable, then I'll consider it. He definitely would." But until he says it, I remain unswayed.
Wow. I mean, is that fair to question? Like, I don't
it's
think
totally
there's
fair
nothing wrong with that.
to question someone's intentions, especially if it's a celebrity.
Yeah.
Because he has it within his financial interest for us to believe him.
Yes.
But
I guess anybody public facing benefits from how their image is portrayed in a positive manner.
yeah, I lean toward believing him.
Sorry, I'm still freaked. I'm like waiting for the crisis party to go off.
Dane is gonna be so bitter.
Heck yeah!
Until
Guys,
he gets 11.
I really appreciate your support with this. Anything to oppress Dave. I think that we have to remember that celebrities, as much as we don't believe it, are humans too. And while
As much as we don't believe it,
you know,
we may not treat them like celebrities.
They are just fictional characters created by PR and ad agencies. But also, you can question it and still hope the best for him, right? Like, we should believe that people are bettering for themselves. And I think often we see people as our enemies, even though we don't actually know anything about them, because we don't like them, or they, you know, even if they oppose values that are different from ours, like, you don't have to actively hate them. You're wasting your own energy with that. We don't have to root for him to fail, right? We should. What's happening?
Thank you.
Also, giving people the benefit of the doubt is a lot of times seen as like naivete now. Like you're not allowed to be hopeful or give people the benefit of the doubt because it's seen as naive.
And like, if he messes it up, like I said before, he could still be trying to be Catholic. He just is a very, very documented, complicated person.
And if he makes another documented mistake, then I feel like that's also going to be used to bludgeon other Catholics.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they're going to be like, oh, is this what it means to be a Catholic?
Yeah.
Like, if he does whatever. Or like, if we're
I
waiting,
hate that so much.
If we're waiting on this lawsuit, then oh my gosh, what's happening? So that was one. Brace himself. If this lawsuit comes back and he does get fined, or you know, has some issue, they're gonna be like, newly Catholic Shia LaBeouf convicted of issue, and it's like he should be held accountable if he is given the chance in a court of law to defend himself, and if they find, you know, whatever. Catholicism doesn't erase his past mistakes, it just informs how he is living his life now.
Matt said that feeling of needing to be better first is a lie of the enemy. You are accepted as is, and the hope that you see is that you seek God's wants and adopt them as your own.
I am learning so much today.
F off said, personally, if someone decides to be religious, cool, good on them. I was raised Roman Catholic as well as Christian, so that was fun. Fun fact, Jesus had a tattoo. It's in the big book. I didn't know that. Wonder where you got that from.
Where's the tattoo?
What is it?
I need to know. He didn't have a tramp stamp.
Tasteful butterfly on his ankle.
I have no idea.
It's on his shoulder.
It's sacrilegious.
Never heard of this.
Barbed wire tattoo on his bicep.
A teardrop.
That's where the teardrop came from. Like they've just perverted it in today's culture. That's a problem. Right.
Clint sent us thunderstorm emojis.
Thank you, Clint.
He gave us a crisis party there.
Welcome back, way. Clint. He himself?
Yes.
Well, yeah, multiple people did.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
I love it here.
Hobbit said.
I love it here.
I don't know. It's like cool that people are excited about what we're doing. And like,
the best part of this job is like knowing that people actually like care enough to like actually listen and watch. And
I want you guys to start having other like pop culture themed podcast hosts on here, because first off, they can't copy your model, and also when you do this show, if you do any other shows, it's very strange to not have the interactive nature of this. Like even when the money guns go off, I don't know if it's positive or negative or who they're talking to. So
they could be saying something mean about you when you get shot with money.
Oh,
or they could be saying something nice.
You got a reaction, so you're doing something right.
I used to want it to be like when they were like brainstorming this idea, what I like had said a couple times was like, it'd be funny if we could have, you know, when you watch a political debate, like charts of people's opinions going up and down as you talk, or like if the lights would change, like when people are happier with what you're saying, they get like brighter green, but if people start disagreeing with you, they turn red.
See, I would have been worried about that back in the day, but Mary's been taking the L on carts, so maybe I would be all right now.
Yeah.
Brett is so happy that
you just haven't told them the horrible things you do.
Because all the horrible things I've done were self-inflicted, so I've hurt less people. Well, no, I've hurt plenty of people, but mainly I've hurt myself.
Okay, Shia,
mainly I've hurt myself.
Hobbit said, we need a well-made film on King Alfred or Emperor Constantine for a good religious film.
I know nothing
Constantine
about that.
would be interesting. He made Christianity legal in the Roman Empire. I think he also made it like their official like state religion.
Wow.
Who's troubled and needs to be converted? Who could play him?
I mean, Ezra Miller.
No one.
Let's go.
Dragon's Talon 1001 said, "Today is my birthday. Happy birthday!" And I can't think of a better birthday gift than spending time with Hannah, Claire, and Mary. Okay, even Brett too.
Oh, see? That's why I said that earlier, because I'm feeling
What the
slighted.
heck? It's your birthday and you gave us a gift?
Thank you.
Dude, seriously, happy birthday, Dragon's Talon, which is not Dragon's... I don't know what I tried to say.
What did you say? You said like Dragon Stallone or something?
I kept saying
Dragon's Talon.
Yeah, but when you were gone and I had to do your job, which I'm not good at,
I kept saying Stallone.
I would say Dragon Stallone. Didn't make any sense. Also, happy birthday. Today is also my older brother's birthday.
Okay.
Happy birthday to him.
Oh, okay.
Excellent. Let's save them, and then we'll go to Podluck, guys, and then we will finish the super chats when we get through Podluck.
Okay.
So the first thing we're going to talk
haven't
about.
had Podluck yet?
We're not even at Podluck yet. We're getting here now.
Oh, we've already got 10 crisis parties.
Yes.
So we could have Brett bleaching his hair by the end of this
Possibly,
show.
if you guys want it bad enough.
No.
I don't think Mary and I have ever talked about the fact that this was the wager. I suddenly.
If you want Brett to look like Eminem in what was it, like 2001?
Yes.
Then we're gonna need 15 crisis parties.
I
guys.
said I have the right to grow my hair out longer before I dye it.
No.
I put that in the fine print.
In fact, not.
Was that a footnote in the contract?
No,
Yes,
it was not.
Well, there's been no contract signed, but
we have a verbal agreement that's
gentleman's
binding.
agreement.
One time on this show, Brett was like, I don't know what we're talking about, but I said basically like, whenever I invite you places, you never come, and he was like, fine, next time you guys go out to eat, I'll come with, and I was able to hold him to coming to Waffle House with us after IRL one night because I specifically he bailed out. He was like, yeah, I'll go. Just kidding, I don't want to. And I was like, but you said on pop culture, and he was like, he doesn't want to let you guys down.
Yes, that is exactly. I was a man of my word. So it says, rumor: Warner Brothers Discovery CEO David Zaslav is a big fan of The Flash, but unhappy with current state of Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So imagine like he's like, no, Ezra, you need to go find religion.
Obsessed with Ezra, stands Ezra in everything he does. And he just hates Amber Heard because she's a woman.
That's probably it. So it says, although the report did not go into specifics regarding the CEO's issues with the film, he's talking about Aquaman, they did note that they are not severe enough to ever led him to consider giving the film the Batgirl treatment. By that they mean cancel that thing in the middle of production.
Which is just a complete, like, if this rumor is true, a complete admission that the cancellation of Batgirl was quality control.
Yep. So it says the same goes for The Flash, as World of Real says that Warner Brothers Discovery's beleaguered tentpole release has not only performed better than Lost Kingdom with test audiences, but also has one key thing going for it, which is that David Zaslav is reportedly a big fan of the Scarlet Speedster's solo adventure. It better be good. Ezra Miller may be an absolute creep, but it's like we've talked about the idea of like when you get so invested in a project, you've put so much time and money into it, like you feel like you have to get it done. This movie has been in development since 2016. Like at this point,
he's not even gonna look like the same person he was when he played this role.
We're in a second governmental administration, and this movie's still not
more
out.
They always bring that up when we talk about Stranger Things, like. Obama was still in office when Stranger Things started.
Yep.
I think it's time to call it
quits.
Call it quits.
It's just when you say it like that feels like a long time ago.
It was a long time ago.
So that he's not even threatening to change the release date for the Ezra Miller film. However, he may not be alone on that front, as he may be alone on that front, as they've rumored that he got into a big shouting match with the other executives. Again, rumor. Who's actually... That would be more fun to watch at this point than most of these movies, is just to watch them argue about making these movies. There will be documentaries made 10 years from now about DC and the tumultuous nature of trying to get movies made over there. Like, Inventing Anna, we're going to talk about that shortly. Like, there will be weird docudramas made about David Zaslav arguing with people as Ezra Miller's over in the corner creeping on some child.
I'm going to watch every moment because I love that.
And like, it's going to be David Zaslav like, oh, I love the Flash movie, and then it's gonna like rack focus, and behind him, Ezra Miller's going to be creeping on like
so
Zaslav's
many NDAs
kids.
will be broken.
They will, so many NDAs. So it says, meanwhile, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has its own Miller-level PR disaster with the Mara actress Amber Heard, whose status in the role following her receiving a losing verdict in the defamation case brought against her by Johnny Depp is currently unclear. So they're like, I don't know if I buy that. Like, I don't know if people are that upset by... oddly enough, though, I would say that her struggles are probably more widely known than Miller's struggles, just because the Johnny Depp trial was so public.
You're right, but they, to begin with both of their controversies, had I would say, like, comparable level of notoriety. Like, before the controversies
like their level
began
of fame?
for them.
I would say she was a bigger name right before this than he was. Like,
really?
Because she was connected to him, to Depp.
Yeah.
He was famous because he made crappy movies and had 1 or 2 good episodes in Royal Pains. And I know.
Wow. Yeah, it's a good Royal Pains reference.
Yes. So, like, I would say that her struggles are more widely felt by the public than his.
But his story is
his
so
is
much more
worse.
extreme.
I know.
With a incongruent like level of backlash. I don't think anyone is like talking about it or really like. There's not as much anger.
Yeah, and then freaking Zachary Levi's over here just making his Shazam movie, not getting into any trouble. The Rock's over here like
unproblematic king.
Yeah, The Rock's over here like I'm just kind of The Rock is literally milquetoast. The Rock is like the most like inoffensive, bland human being there is.
That's what he is for.
And he's making money off of it. Like, isn't he one of the most followed people on the social networks?
And he's the highest paid actor in the world.
Yeah, highest paid actor. I think he makes tons of money off of like social media.
He's the highest paid actor.
I don't know if he still is. But
he was for like 2 or 3 years in a row.
2020,
right?
2021, and 2019. Like, yeah, like he when I saw the amount of money he made off like Rampage, which nobody saw, like no one saw Rampage. Like, it's like he's ridiculously. Or there are also like there's these memes. It's like any movie with a jungle in it, and it shows a picture of The Rock like busting down the door to get hired to do it.
Yeah,
even though
he did do a bunch of like jungle movies.
He did the Jungle Book,
Uncharted and Jungle Movie, and then what's that
Jungle
one?
Book. He's in
like the old Jumanji
Jumanji, not
remake.
Jungle Book.
That guy loves to.
He just wants to hang out in the jungle.
He just wants to go on a tropical. He's like, you're filming in a tropical location. I'm there.
He's just
live action Moana.
Yeah. Well, he was in.
What do you think?
I mean, would you get to? He'd have to put on some weight to play that other character, and
no, they would just be like, surprisingly, he's good looking.
Yeah, exactly.
Funny how that works, right? So, The Rock is over here, inoffensive. Zachary Levi, inoffensive. The worst you could say about Zachary Levi is like he made the Kurt Warner the semi-religious Kurt Warner movie. And then also said stuff like people shouldn't be mean to people. People are like, shut up.
To be fair to DC, Jason Momoa, inoffensive.
Oh yeah,
highly inoffensive.
Oh yeah. He's kind of like The Rock. They're just kind of there.
Yeah,
like they just kind of
he's
like
more hippie than The Rock, though.
Yes, well, he's
not that that's offensive, just like in a vibe. He's much more like peace and love. When he split up with what's her face,
Lisa Bonet.
Yeah,
he's like
he they had this like thing. It was like
they had a joint statement.
They had a joint statement that was like, we still appreciate each other's energies. I like imagine they were sitting there with crystals when they were like,
energies are
turns
still
out
aligned.
It's just that our physical presence is no longer congruous. Yeah. Like I don't really know what they're saying, but it sounds nice.
And like the first and then like
also maybe
there's a reason that Jason Momoa couldn't play a character like Black Adam.
Yes, because he's too he's
peace and love.
Yes, he is. All right, so guys, take that for what you will. I 100% buy that Zaslav, and maybe Zaslav's reaction is actually that reason. He's like, look, the Amber Heard stuff is way more public. Sure, Ezra Miller's a creep and is probably abusing children, but by gall, if we won't make our money back because the mainstream media is corrupt and isn't reporting on it. So maybe he's just a cutthroat executive who just sees money to be made and is like, but I'm not reshooting a $220 million movie.
It's not even cutthroat. It's just being realistic.
Yeah.
He's not like a big old meanie head wanting profitable movies.
You look at the reality in front of you.
I mean, that's so capitalist of him. So if he could really reevaluate.
Late stage capitalism. You look at the reality in front of you and you go to war with the army you got. And unfortunately, the army that he got is a creep that seems to be like touching children and gets arrested all the time and for some reason wants female cops to touch him. Yep. That's the army.
Normal.
I want Ezra
so in other
Miller
words, Hollywood.
I want Ezra Miller to start a writing campaign to try and win like the governorship of Hawaii.
Please don't do that. Or he becomes he becomes a sheriff in a town in Hawaii.
Ooh. This would be adapted.
All right, we're gonna move on. We're gonna talk about Inventing Anna real quick. Now, did you read up on this pretty heavily? Because you saw the series, right?
I've read about Anna's real story a lot.
So basically,
and I know that this friend, she is
Rachel Williams.
Yeah, Rachel Williams. She wrote a book, My Friend Anna, and she used to be a photo editor for Vanity Fair.
This is the girl who Anna invited on like an international trip.
Yeah,
and
she traipsed around with Anna.
Could you just
like,
put your card
lot.
down on this and I'll wire you the money? And it was like $40,000 or something.
And Anna was like towards the end of her run as a fraudster at that point, so she was just like, I'm gonna leave. So she just had her friend front the bill for that, even though she had been paying for everything throughout their friendship. And then she never paid her back, and she essentially lost like I think it was like maybe even $60,000.
It was like tens of
on the
thousands
hotel bill when they were in where'd they go? Morocco.
Yeah.
So basically, Inventing Anna wanted to portray Rachel, firstly with her full name.
Which they did the other characters the kindness of changing the names, but
so it feels personal.
But because Rachel Williams signed a deal for her likeness to HBO, they're like, well, we don't like that David Zaslav over there at HBO. He wants to release the Flash movie. Okay, I'm making that part up, but they took offense to that and just used her real name at Netflix.
Yeah. So they portrayed her with her full name, and then that was their first mistake. And then they kind of twisted the story a little bit to make her look extremely gullible and also like a freeloader who was like selfishly trying to take advantage of Anna's money.
So it says this action will show that Netflix made a deliberate decision for dramatic purposes to show Williams doing or saying things in the series which portray her as greedy. Guilty. That was sorry about that. Greedy, snobbish, disloyal, dishonest, cowardly, manipulative, and opportunistic.
Yeah.
Stated in the following. And how do you prove all of that? Those are all such subjective terms.
Yeah, like,
how do you prove greedy?
It's not defamation if you're not lying about her, because it's a dramatized retelling. It's not a documentary. You know.
Portrayed by Katie Lowes, who was one of the few bright spots of the later seasons of Scandal.
The showrunner Shonda Rhimes, who I dislike.
You make me laugh so much. I just like
with his encyclopedic knowledge.
Also, like, you never know. Like, Brett watched Scandal. Of course, Brett watched Scandal.
Like, what do you mean?
It was on television. Brett watched
those monologues are the most insufferable thing in the world. But when Joe Morton does it, I buy it. Okay, I buy it.
Do you like Shonda Rhimes?
No.
I don't. I strongly dislike her and everything she writes.
There's remember when we covered the story about the lady who was like fired or she was put on leave because she faked an illness so that she could get hired to do writing for like Grey's Anatomy because they wanted people that were saying that was because Shonda Rhimes you have to be that was a Shonda Rhimes production. I'm not a huge fan of Shonda Rhimes.
Yeah.
I also found the conclusion of that of Scandal where they're like, he gets away with it because nobody in America would believe that a black person ran the CIA or whatever was one of the most offensive things that I was like,
it was rough.
It was so bad.
It was a terrible show for a long time. I'm just gonna say
those first 2 seasons were great.
I binge watched it when I had a crazy fever one time, and like even in my like messed up state, I was still like, this is garbage propaganda.
The better show would be to go watch Damages with Glenn Close.
I love that you have a counter. You're like, I feel like Brett is like those sites that are like, if you thought you'd like Scandal but were disappointed, watch Damages instead.
Exactly. Glenn Close.
But anyway, Shonda Rhimes weighed in on this and said, we didn't want to be making things up just for the sake of it. We wanted to intentionally fictionalize moments versus just accidentally fictionalizing them.
Yeah.
So there was stuff that we invented because it needed to be invented to make the story really sing and be what it should be.
I love the language. To make it sing.
To make it sing. You're annoying.
Yes, exactly.
So she's just admitting that they made Rachel Williams seem more naive and stupid and selfish than she really was.
You're like, could you write her but just like dumber?
Yeah, like dumb but also somehow extremely conniving. Can you do that?
Could you make her both?
Thank you.
Oh my God.
That's 11.
Thank you, guys. 7-11.
How's your head feeling?
Very
Nervous?
dark-haired right now. But how would you guys even know? I wear a hat literally every day. I'm going to have to not wear a hat. That's going to be the
It'll
worst
peek
part.
through a little bit
Yeah.
through the hat.
Also, we'll take some photos with the hat on.
And it's just, you know, then you're
We'll
more
get
likely to bleach your hair because who is going to see it anyway?
Yeah, you have nothing.
Right?
Also,
Damn it, why
you
did I-
pulls it down. Also, we could get you a visor so we can see the top. Anything is possible. Look at this.
Can you start wearing an upside down and backwards visor every day so
Yeah.
that
Yes.
you'll be even more like Eminem?
Yes,
Yeah.
I will do that.
And then buzz your hair.
Guys, thank you so much. That was awesome.
I forgot where we were even going with that.
It was basically that she's suing, and it just seemed like a
Yeah.
ridiculous lawsuit to me.
Yeah, she's gonna lose. But I have her book. I haven't gotten around to reading it yet. I find the real situation interesting enough.
These two nerds read, but like on Sunday, Mary posted like a story. It was like reading this book today. I'm like, I gave you a movie to
Brett,
watch.
excuse me, that was Shane Cashman's book. Are you really going to say that? You think Shane Cashman's book
It's okay.
of poetry and prose about the pandemic
Was it
is
beautiful?
dorky? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
I think
that's
it's
what
that
I'm
Brett
saying.
can't read, and
That's-
so it's hard for him.
You can't read. That's going to be a problem.
I've
I'm
proven
just
that
kidding.
time and time again when we're doing the show, and I'm trying to read
you're
the
good
segments.
at Brett. You're good at reading.
I think I've told that story before. Like that was like the one comment that I read that cut me pretty deeply. Like, how could somebody be like do a podcast by being a fanboy and literally not know how to read?
And so
They
you went
said
back and
that?
started studying.
That it was
my
like in the comments.
goodness.
I was like, that's doesn't affect me,
Uh,
and I cried.
but yeah, that's that story. I don't think that the fictionalized telling of it is any more interesting than the real one, though.
And before we go, we've got 2 announcements. One is that Game of Thrones is up 2% from the premiere, which is actually, that sounds like
I thought
nothing.
that was pathetic, but you said, it's actually impressive for something to go up from the pilot in any sense.
Yeah, like this early on, like I would have expected the numbers to stay the same or maybe drop a little bit. Any amount of bump is actually pretty impressive, especially in a culture right now where we're very quick. Like if you're like me and you're quick to write something off, I get through 20 minutes of She-Hulk. I'm like, I'll give her 5 lame feminist statements before I'm out of here. Right? My time is at a premium. I got crap to do. I don't want to sit through She-Hulk if I don't have to.
I mean, even if you don't have anything to do,
I've got old
you might as well
episodes
just
of
not suffer. You could like watch paint dry instead.
I've got old episodes of The Wire I could be watching right now, or in this case, we're going to be reviewing The Patient or something like that. I am always like
busy. He doesn't have time for feminist statements.
I would say that like we had the idea, we were talking at one point, like maybe we should have like a binary system, like either you approve of the movie or you don't.
This is how I operate.
For me, just getting through it means I technically am giving you the seal of approval, because even making it to the end means it's better than a lot of the stuff that comes out today. But I'm about halfway through episode 2. There was some other stuff pulled up about the creepy nature of the relationships. It's Game of Thrones. It's all creepy.
It's creepy.
And before we go, I want to talk about Jennifer Lopez is accused of cutting dancers based on their astrological signs.
Does she hire them because of their astrological sign?
I don't know.
Well, she's saying that certain astrological signs are okay, and other ones will bring bad juju to the
I
tour.
love that the photo that they use for this article, all of the background dancers are wearing masks and she's not.
That is the most frustrating part of Hollywood, right? Like every time you see a picture from the Met Gala.
To be fair, she's got a microphone in her hand, so she's probably practicing singing.
You know how like they say like, oh, your face is your moneymaker.
Yeah.
It's your moneymaker. Like that's what they're all saying. They're like, we can't cover her face because even if we get COVID, theoretically, it would cut our chances of being able to make money.
Do you remember the picture of the people playing like the flute and they had the mask cut out?
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
That's what they should be doing here. Okay, so basically she said no Virgos. It's like, what would it say?
Only Virgos.
Only Virgos are
so
bad.
interesting.
No, she's a
Can you sue for discrimination?
Astrological-based, astrology-based discrimination.
We might need to
I gotta go to law school really
start
quick.
a precedent for that, because the amount of crystal chicks that are gonna see She-Hulk Attorney at Law and then become lawyers.
No, the thing is like now it's like if Jennifer Lopez did it and she's okay, then maybe my holistic bakery conflict-free Pilates studio should also exclude all Sagittariuses.
If you're a Virgo, I'm not gonna bake your wedding cake.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that we should. It's like, I won't bake that wedding cake. If you have a specific Virgo-related wedding cake, I will bake a wedding cake, but not a Virgo wedding cake. Mm-hmm. Is that you following what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Also, I want to point out that it was the WandaVision meme that the WandaVision show that's created that great meme of like Vision and Wanda looking like this, and it says, when you want to smash a crystal chick so you pretend to be into weird shit too. It's Vision looking like he's all, it's great. So it says, to be more specific, she seems to be absolutely not want any Virgos dancing alongside her. This shouldn't come as a shock based on the many attitudes Lopez displayed in her latest Netflix documentary that portrays her road to the Super Bowl halftime show. She likes having the spotlight to herself and clearly expressed how much she hated performing next to Shakira, which is interesting because people are like, oh my God, that performance was so iconic. Oh my God, go girls.
This story is insane. She turned to all the dancers and said, thank you so much. You guys have worked so hard. By a show of hands, if there are any Virgos in the room, can you just raise your hand? And after that, she approached her assistant and whispered something to her. Only a few seconds after that, the assistant told all dancers who were Virgos to leave.
I like
and
how
thank them for their audition.
She couldn't say it. She had to make her assistant say it.
Her assistant did the dirty work.
No, I like that instead of them having to like list it on their application, Jennifer Lopez was like dancing. She's like, yeah, it's been great. I'm feeling some off energy. I'm just going to ask, any Virgos in the room?
Virgos are highly uncoachable unless they absolutely share your vision.
It reminds me
So she doesn't want any mutiny. No one questioning her vision.
It reminds me of the movie...
Sorry. I'm just like imagining a president being like hiring people and then being in the like cabinet and being like, just really quick, is anyone here a Virgo? And then he's like, get out.
Comparing this to Britney's story of how like she disagreed about choreographing one dance move and then was sent to a mental hospital.
Is she a Virgo though?
I'm shocked at the power imbalance.
Is she a Virgo though? She's uncoachable unless they share her
Brittany
vision.
a Virgo?
Somebody find out right now.
This reminds me of there's a movie called Boiler Room where they're trying to get guys who want to be you have to do cold calling to try to get people to do stock scams. And he's like, does anybody here have a stock, like a license to sell, like whatever, like a stockbroker's license? And like one guy like really proudly raises his hand. He goes, get the fuck out of here. Like, cause he's like, I don't want any people who have like, the idea is to get rid of them because he'll know that what they're doing is totally a scam. But
okay, I'm pretty sure Britney Spears is actually a Sagittarius.
What are they known
well,
for?
Thank goodness. So, guys, if you were thinking of trying out as a backup dancer for Jennifer Lopez, just to
check your sign at the door.
Check your sign at the door or lie.
You need not apply, basically.
Yeah.
See, I want like now, who's like Jennifer Lopez's big like, rival from the 90s, right? For her to be like, I only want to hire Virgos.
She did have a big rival
They
in
all
the
do,
90s.
right?
Who was it? Maybe
Do I
like
look like
Mariah Carey, maybe?
Shakira.
Mariah Carey, who is
Mariah Carey's like, were
definitely
you
a Virgo?
born outside of the Christmas season? Get out of here.
Mariah Carey is a big one.
I mean, Shakira would have been around at the same time as her.
Yeah, I was thinking
Nelly.
of Shakira.
Is that a thing? Is that a pop artist?
Who?
Nelly.
Nelly was a guy.
No,
Nelly
Furtado.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know about pop culture.
Jewel.
I'm qualified to be here.
Who remembers Jewel? Jewel was in the news for my mom loved Jewel.
Have like backup dancers?
No.
I think of Jewel as being more, acoustic guitar.
Let's do a super chat.
All right. Bobcat said, somehow the Sausage Party made the most money. The Sausage Party refers to the show with Dane and Ian. You ladies gotta beat that record. Quick, Mary. Don't put a shopping cart back.
Well, that
Controversy helps.
They have since done this, guys.
Yeah.
All press is good press.
That's what we've learned today. DeLeo Turk said, if you know someone who wishes to explore religion, take them to church with you if you go. The first step is always the hardest. Yeah, but I'm not just gonna go around asking people hey, can I take you to church, please?
I hope that you.
I was just on my way to mass.
Hey, do you want to go to lunch with me? First, we're gonna stop by church.
They sneak you in there, we just gotta make a stop.
I know this really cool hole in the wall place.
We just gotta make a stop real quick, and then you just pull up to the church.
Church
why? I was wondering why you were wearing a full dress and
a full dress.
I was wondering, why is the guy?
Why are you wearing a veil?
Yes.
Caper2X said, gentleman's agreement was witnessed by the masses.
That is true. But Hannah Claire also has to. What was it at 25? Was something really
at 25?
Easy. Watch
I
one
have to
Fast
watch one Fast and the Furious and review it.
I think it was at 15. You said you'd watch one.
I think I said at 15 I'd watch one. 25,
maybe then you'll watch all of them.
All of them. There's 10 unnecessarily. There's 10 of them.
You could just put them on in the background.
But I did say at. Yeah,
15.
I guess. So you're bleaching your hair and I'm watching one Fast and the Furious?
Yes. That doesn't seem fair.
Can I watch Fast and the Furious while you sit next to me and get your hair bleached?
Because you think that watching Fast and Furious is like a treat.
Yes, I do.
But she's going to suffer.
Yes.
I think that it'll be fun for you to try out a new look. I'm only trying to help you gain a perspective on the world.
It's not permanent,
Also, what if you get a cool nickname like Ghost Boy?
I could work on that.
Very original.
Ghost Girl and Ghost Boy and Ghost Girl present. That would be the name of the show.
Love that.
Then we have Spooky Cast. It'll be great.
Halls in the Kid said, Brett puts the bleach in the hair, else he gets the hose again.
No, not a Silence of the Lambs reference.
I wish Dave was in the chat right now, just being able to see what's happening. He
is seething.
He can't even take it in.
Poor Dane, he's actually sick right now.
Yeah.
So he couldn't beat this record this week.
Someone texted me while he was he tied my record and then he was just about to pass it, or no, he hadn't tied it yet, or maybe he just had. Someone texted me and was like, if Dane beats your record, you need to storm the studio. And I was like, I will do that, no problem. Push him out of the way, act like I was here the whole time.
Gold Mecro said, did you guys beat the record yet? Yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
All because of you. Thank you so much.
Waffles.
Anything to oppress Dave.
Yes.
I think we're...
That's what this is really about, after all.
Yeah, of course.
What's up? Something wrong?
DeLeo, Torque.
You're distracting us from excellent time reading the chat.
Keep going.
Okay. Did I miss some? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Did it do the weird scroll thing?
Well, yeah, I can't scroll up any further at some point, Brett.
Okay, so it says, let's get Hannah Claire to 7 crisis party status from Dragon's Talon.
Dragon's Talon, happy birthday.
And then there was one from...
These are old ones.
Felix Alicia says, what does Brett think of K-dramas? The characters, albeit come from a homogenous society, have real traits, flaws, and don't apologize for their expression of masculinity and femininity. We watched, I forget what it was, right in the
You watched a K-drama.
At the early days of this podcast, we watched one that it was about it was like a sci-fi K-drama that was actually really, really good. It was on Netflix. Now, for the life of me, I can't remember what it was. And I do think that when you write in a more homogenous society where you don't have to worry about gender, where gender politics are more relaxed because the society is more relaxed about those issues.
Or even if they have their own gender politics, they're so different from our own that I feel like we can't even pick up on those things.
Exactly. So the homogeneity of the society actually lends itself to better storytelling because they don't get wrapped up. They don't have their version of Captain America worried about random shit that has nothing to do with Captain America.
Yeah.
And then the next was Clint Torres says, all this rain in Texas got me in the mood. 3 lightning bolts or rain and thunder emojis.
Thunderstorms.
And then Matt says, Alpha USA discussion groups are a good intro to faith. I don't know what that is. Does that sound
What is
familiar?
that?
It says Alpha USA discussion groups are
I've
good
not
intro
seen
to
that
faith.
before.
Okay. And then F off for $200 said, I'm in Texas as well, Clint.
My favorite goldsmith ever. And this is so exciting.
And then F off again for $100 says, money is good in Texas, apparently.
What part of Texas are you in, sir?
And then,
because I also lived in Texas for a bit. Texas is great.
And what's the highest one that the next one you can see?
I read one from Caper 2X about the gentleman's agreement.
Okay, well, I'm up. Do you have Bad App says, my afternoons consist of PCC and self-care. And then like awesome, 9 different emojis that I will not share. Javi J says, sobriety has always felt less personal to me than my relationship with God, but the Bible dictates that we evangelize. It's been a confusing 17 years. Mm-hmm. I'm also learning once again that I'm not good at reading the super chats. I can read the articles.
At least you can read people's names. I don't know why I really
can like squint because I see it on the other monitor and I can read them.
No, I got it. So okay. F off says it was a 10 and Hannah Claire watches the first Fast and the Furious movie, a.k.a. Fast and the Furious.
It was 10 I watched the first Fast and Furious movie?
The crowd has spoken.
Oh, man.
Oh, no.
We'll have to...
I mean, okay. Like, I got to honor my
Brett
word.
Brett needs to hold his end of the deal.
No, mine was 15.
It was 10, but then he negotiated up to 15.
I just want you both to suffer because I didn't agree to anything.
That's because you went to Ireland. You weren't here for this weird part of it.
Bobcat,
I will watch it. I mean, thanks for holding me accountable.
I'd be cursed to return my shopping cart.
Bobcat says, wait, didn't Hannah Claire agree to bleach her hair at 10 crisis parties?
No.
She
now
not.
You're rewriting history, dude. We know what we said.
Then we get down to, yeah, then you read Halls and the Kid. Go back up. My God, there's so many guys. We're doing our best. $2 from Lindsay towards Brett's hair. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you very kindly. And then we're down to Caper 2X says, let's bleach the DC boy girls. Let's bleach the DC boy girls. That's there's a comma there. Still hoping for your heated dunk tank by Chicken City Hannah Claire Roberto Jr. to press the button. What's up, Ghostly Mary?
What's up?
Bad App says Brett will.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
I'm not gonna say it.
Okay.
Caper 2X.
Okay, now we're caught up enough.
Got it?
At this point. Waffle Sensei said, Brett, do you not want to be the first podcast host to go Super Saiyan? Maybe just some frosted tips. 15 parties, my brothers and sisters. Make Brett go Super Saiyan.
Dude.
Make it rain.
Actually, I don't know what would be funnier. Frosted tips or...
Frosted tips would be hilarious.
Completely bleach.
Then it has to be like longer because I can't.
No, see this is the thing. You can't give Brett any negotiating room because he's trying to get out of this.
Now
so
you're trying to weasel out.
I'm not trying to weasel out.
I see what you're doing.
He's gonna shave his head tomorrow because we got so close to 15. He'd be like, but I have to wait until it's longer.
Lane said, criminally underappreciated podcast better than IRL. Whoa. Keep up the great content.
But say it again and louder.
What you need to do
I want to hang that on the wall.
Say that in the IRL chat. Go ahead.
When somebody actually like super chats that to IRL, then I can.
Then we're gonna be vindicated. Waffle Sensei said 4 more parties. Let's go, fam. Let's go.
Let's go.
So Brett agrees. He just cheered for it.
Yeah, he wants to bleach his hair at this point.
Oh, do I?
I think Brett's like secretly looking up pictures of like men with bleached hair on
He's
Pinterest.
like kind of getting into the idea.
Envisioning it.
Hobbit said, Alfred was an English king. He saved the land from a Viking invasion, reformed education by translating books into English, and was a good dude.
See, I love the idea that you can make a movie on the idea that they're just a good dude. Like, that's awesome. Like, it's like,
he also did remarkable things.
That's what I'm saying. But, like, I like the idea that you do all these remarkable things. But then most of the time you expect it to be like, yeah, sure, they were complicated and kind of a piece of crap. But I like the idea, like, he did this, and he was just a generally good dude.
There's got to be a movie about Charlemagne already.
Yeah,
right?
I bet there is.
Yeah.
But there could be more. Let's do it again.
I'm assuming that's different than Charlemagne the God.
Yeah, that's different. That's where Charlemagne the God's name comes from. Halls and the Kids said 11 identifies as 15. We did it.
No.
So true.
You gotta honor things correctly.
Let's see.
Yesh sends 99 cents with no message, which I'm always like amazed. Like, thank you.
Thank you. Hobbit said, my signs are he, him. Did I do that right?
You did.
Yeah.
You absolutely did.
I love what's your name, what's your sign, and then what are your pronouns?
Yes.
Being the new question.
It's kind of comes around from like, Mary, you're too young to actually, you're probably both too young to remember ASL.
Age, sex, location, pronouns?
ASLP.
What?
It's like, I guess people asked each other age, sex, location on a primitive discussion forum.
Yeah, because
like,
you didn't have a picture of yourself, so there's no way to know.
Yeah, but why do you need to know that?
Why?
What are you talking about?
Why do people want to
It
talk
was
to
the
people?
internet, guys.
Why would you give out personal information like that on
people
the internet?
had no idea of like
they were less guarded about that
their
stuff back then.
OPSEC, you know.
What was your mom's maiden?
Time.
Oh, you're so interesting. What was your mom's maiden name? And
Oh yeah, you're real. What's your social security number?
The model of your first car.
Hobbit said the sassy gay boys have been dethroned.
That they have.
I don't know how you got that moniker.
I don't know where it came from either.
Was that like something?
I think it was probably Bad App.
Great.
Saying it in the episode.
Walker, Texas Danger said Hannah Claire will join Hank's Fit at 15. This is known. I mean, at that 15. Point,
we should watch it back.
Her month-long subscription might be paid for.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it was 15. I did say at one point that I would like sign up for it for a month, but I think this was like 25 crisis.
Yeah, it was
parties.
like 25. It was more.
Yeah,
we gotta write this stuff down, but.
Because like they're trying to trick us. They're gaslighting us.
I said I would sign up for it and like give a review.
Darth Doza said, HC, favorite article you have written on Timcast?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. I appreciate you guys asking. I have had the chance to do a couple long form pieces on, like I wrote one, I interviewed a mom who lives on Long Island and like talked about like her experience trying to advocate for masks to be repealed in her kid's school. That was really cool. I get to follow like all kinds of news that I'm interested in. I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
It's always hard to come up with something when people put you on the spot and they're like, what's your favorite TV show? And like literally all the information in my brain just evaporates.
Yeah, I'm very slowly working on... Well, and I've written some cool stuff about like laws that are being passed. Like I always love to be able to follow policy. And then I'm kind of slowly working on a piece about maternity homes right now, and I have no idea when it'll be done. Sorry, Chris Carr, but eventually I'll have produced this piece on like maternity homes. So like where you would send your pregnant teenage daughter and where they stand in America today. So yeah.
Okay. Mary, same question, please and thank you. I am not sure. I really liked writing about Chet Hanks the first time. I got to say he kicked rocks in the headline. That was fun.
The funny thing is like when Mary was first came here for like her like I read through your like as somebody who doesn't read a whole lot of like pop culture like news other than the stuff we do for work. I didn't go like searching for stuff about Megan Fox and read your article about she's hot. It's not that deep.
Yeah.
So I was like, it was very interesting to get a glimpse at Mary's writing before she came here.
Mm-hmm. Brett, if you had 2 hours to kill and rollerblades were all destroyed on the planet, what do you do?
Build a new pair.
I knew you would say that somehow.
What do I do? I would watch reruns of TV shows that there was a meme I posted yesterday. It says it's my emotional support 6+ season release of a show from the early 2000s, like your emotional support dog or your emotional support cat, but it's your emotional support TV show from like the early 2000s. So it'd probably be watching movies or television shows.
Pretty Little Liars.
That is not for me, though I did watch Pretty Little Liars. Mainly for the...
Come on, you liked Pretty Little Liars. Don't lie.
I think that what I liked about that show was that they had fantastic use of, even if it wasn't my genre of music, they were... That was an era where music was very effectively utilized in TV shows. Since we've gotten into more of the prestige model of television making, meaning like your HBO Maxes, your Netflixes, they use a lot less music because it's more story focused. But it's like an ABC Family show, so there's a lot more music involved in that. And I always love to see good examples of music used well in TV shows.
I like that.
Yeah.
Hobbit said hostage party.
That's technically what we're in right now.
It is turning into a little bit of a hostage party.
This has been a hostage
party.
And
I have to say, I'm extremely hungry, so I love that you're super chatting, but I am dying of starvation.
That's too bad.
You started with some popcorn, right?
Yeah. I had
It's
some
been a
popcorn.
while.
It's
been a while.
I don't have a lot
I
of
didn't
rules.
realize that I'd have to start like bringing supplies when I came up here.
This is a camping trip.
I don't have many rules, but there is no eating near microphones.
Yeah,
I have one
it bothers too many people.
I would never eat on air, but like, guys,
No.
Yeah,
Now-
we're dying.
this is like an
here.
endurance sport today.
F off said Austin buying another hour near Round Rock.
Okay.
I
I lived in northern Texas when I was up there.
Oh, I forgot that you even asked about the Texas thing. Bobcat said, Hannah Claire, do you need me to get the clip of you saying sure after Brett read my super chat about you bleaching your hair at 10 parties?
I don't think it makes sense for me to do that. I don't want to use.
If you clipped
Brett.
It might have been a sarcastic sure.
I think I immediately
transcript
said
is a
no. Like,
transcript is a bitch here.
it doesn't really.
That's
make
going to be in the deposition.
We often joke about what the deposition will be like one day when we're all forced to hear back every offensive thing we've ever said to one another. It's gonna be fantastic.
I don't say anything offensive to you guys.
Bad App said, as a straight white male with bleached hair, thank you.
Did we just get to 12?
We got to
Oh my
12.
gosh, Brett! Look at the anxiety in your face.
Invest in a good serum and conditioner. You don't want it to fall out when you get your hair pulled.
No blonde
Just
hair.
some
for
friendly
me.
advice.
Yeah.
Unless we're in 3 parties, right?
F off said, if Hannah Claire bleaches her hair, I'm done chatting.
Whoa. Okay. All right.
Not even unsubscribe.
Yikes.
I'm done chatting.
She has highlights already.
Yeah,
so
I have some. I don't think. The thing is, like, I don't want to steal Mary's look. Like, Mary has the like signature bright blonde hair.
I like invented bleaching my hair.
You didn't
can't
invent
do
it, but
that.
like, why would I try to stomp on your turf? You know.
But maybe everyone can just become like an army of bleached
Super
hair.
bleached hair. It's funny if Brett also has bleached hair though.
How about everyone in the
'Cause then
company just bleaches their hair?
Those of us who have hair. I just feel like if Brett also showed up with bleached hair, it would be like the ultimate. Like, I don't know. I don't even know where this came from. I just said it at random, and now I can't get over
But
it.
it caught on. Bradley Allen said, I simp for Hannah and her strong jawline that would make a nutcracker jealous.
That is like maybe the greatest compliment you will ever receive in your life.
Dying. What thank you.
It's a very specific compliment.
Thank you for noticing. I have never thought about that. I always think I have a really square head.
I mean, it's better than like not having a
I'm
strong
not.
jawline.
No, I'm happy with the way I look. But yeah, thank you for noticing.
Someone else said Pretty Little Liars is a show about toxic femininity.
It
Did you
is.
say
That's
so?
hilarious.
I mean that and like extremely criminal behavior from sociopaths.
And strange story writing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Johnny Derp said, if I had Hannah's jawline, I wouldn't shave either.
What?
What? I don't get it.
Well, I
You're
guess
saying
she
don't
doesn't have
shave?
to because she's a girl.
Yeah.
But he's a guy. He wouldn't. Wait, I don't get it.
Am I more Chad than this guy is? Is that what he's
You
saying?
are super Chad. Hannah
No,
Chad.
I
Not
don't
Hannah
know that
Claire.
I
It's more embarrassing for him than
Yes.
you.
I'm not embarrassed by my jawline.
Yeah. Dragon's Talon 1001 sent us a pear emoji.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
I'm gonna say happy birthday to him all day long.
Okay. Hobbit said, happy 12th hostage party. I guess after a certain point, any crisis party is a hostage
We're
party.
through the topic, so we're in hostage territory right now.
Yeah, we are.
We need to hire a SWAT team.
Halls and the kids said 12 identified
No!
as 15. We did it again.
We are so close though. I've like when I picked 10, it seemed like it would be like difficult to get that in one show.
We're
and then Brett
already,
upped it to 15. I was like, I'm never gonna see this guy with bleached hair. And now I'm like, oh wait.
We're already closer to 13 than we are to 12.
Guys, Clint Torres sends another one.
Thunderstorms
3 times.
All right.
Thank you guys.
I think we're through.
Thank you guys.
Is that the last one?
That was
Yes.
the last one.
Just
Guys,
cutting it off.
thank you guys so much for joining us today. This has been an incredibly fun and incredibly I don't even know how would you describe it?
We just love engaging with you guys and like getting in a conversation getting derailed. Like it's fun.
Half our job is to like not like is to
Thank you.
is
happening-
to try
it's
and
happening
do
as a
this
hostage
job.
party.
Be like there's a lot of times when we're talking and I'm trying to do my job. And what I'm thinking about is that, guys, like I sometimes worry that I don't give enough response to the super chats because I need to both do my job with the show, but I also want you guys to understand how much it means to us that you guys engage with us, that you guys care about the show. It really is. It means the world to me. I know it does to Mary as well. Hannah Claire, how do you feel about 13 hostage parties today?
It feels like actually wild. Like I don't know. I feel like I've been with pop culture for quite some time, and I was here when we used to be pre-recorded, and I love the evolution to live. I've loved having Mary here, and to see that you guys enjoy the show and want to actively be a part of it like this. You know, I know it's all about seeing Brett with bleached hair, and I respect that, but it really is unlike anything else, and I hope you guys feel like it's a unique experience for you as much as it is for us.
Tell everyone where they can find you today.
You can find me on timcast.com. Click on the read tab to see what I'm writing and what the rest of our news team is writing. You can also find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b. You can find me on Gab at hannahclaire.b. And you can find me tonight on IRL and Pop Culture whenever you guys have me back.
Perfect.
Okay,
next week,
I've got to defend this record, which I'm not even sure I actually earned. Like, that's the weird thing about it being like a record for me or for
the sake of it being a rivalry between the guests.
Yeah.
Yep. The guests are a huge part of it, so I think it's your record now. It is your record. So Mary, tell everyone. Read the last of the super chats, and then we will have you let everyone know where they can find you.
Clint said, I want to see photos of Mary bleaching Brett.
I don't ever want to see those photos.
And Dragon's Talon said, Dane is crying, LOL.
He is definitely crying right now.
I saw him in the chat, in our group chat, being like, damn. And Halls and the Kid said 13 identifies as 15. Just do it, Brett.
Nope, it's got 15.
It's got to be a clear win.
If
we draw out this outro long enough, perhaps someone will come in and save the day.
Maybe.
Mary,
somebody call Tim right now.
Mary, yeah, I know, right? Mary, let everyone know where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram or WeChat at CloserKitty. And whenever I post articles on timcast.com, I promote them there.
Brett is like rushing us through this. He's like, don't give them any
Please,
more time.
no more.
No one tell anyone to super chat.
Wait.
What are we on?
I think that's...
Is that a delay from the 13?
That's the 13th
okay.
one. Yes.
Okay.
Guys.
Okay, just checking.
Guys, there's still time. You two
no.
I feel like it's a telethon.
Guys, no. Guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. Hannah Claire's laughing. Are you still laughing?
I just have the best time.
At Brett Dasovic for the show. This is ridiculous. Monday through Friday, I'm doing the outro during a crisis party. Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific right here on YouTube.com. You can listen to us if you'd rather listen rather than watch. But why the hell would you want to do this when all this is going? Can you imagine listening to this podcast right now? Like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah.
Like, guys, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify. If you would rather listen, I still think it's better to watch. Or if you want to follow us on social media, Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at popculturecrisis, and on Instagram at popculturecrisisPod. We have one more from Johnny Derp, who sends us $2 with no message. Thank you, Johnny. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.
Bye.